I used to eat fuck all. The only thing I used to eat was a stunner meal a day, that's it. Every day, cheeseburger meal or stunner meal. That was it. I didn't use.
You don't get both. No, you pick one. You pick one. Cody, welcome to the Blokes Lab.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Special guest. All right, so I'm curious, what got you into fighting? Let us know from the grassroots. We want to know the story.
All right. So I always was a fan. First and foremost, my father, he was actually a fan of fighting from a young age. I was a fan of it he was watching it. When I was a kid, he was watching it on the TV, and I just always used to sit next to him and like watch it. And he would watch the MMA, like the early UFCs, Pride, boxing, kickboxing, etc. I had two older brothers. They used to beat me up a little bit, give us a hard time. So we were always obsessed with fighting in the Karate Kid movies and stuff like that. Pretty much I asked my dad one day, "Oh, Dad, I want to do what they're doing, on the TV. I want to do karate as well." So then he took me to the Taekwondo gym, and pretty much from then on, my first day in the gym, they could notice right away that I had a bit of natural talent, and it made me feel good about myself too. At the time, I wanted to, in my head, I was thinking, well, if I learn martial arts, I'll be able to give it to my brothers back, But little did I know that, size comes into play. So
yeah, definitely.
No matter how skilled I got at 6 years old, I still wouldn't have beat them at 10 years old. Just went down to the Taekwondo gym, had a talent for it, and for the first time, I actually felt like I was good at something, and it made me feel good about myself. And then I pretty much never looked back from then on. That's pretty much it, how I started.
How you started. So did you find did you get into competition at a young age?
Yeah, I had my first, and I think that's also when my family realised how good I was at it. I had my first Taekwondo competition. I was 8. It was like a big interclub thing, and I went in it. And actually, at first, funny story, they gave me the flyer because in the class they give flyers out, and I remember they gave a flyer and they said, "Oh, take this home to your parents. It's for the tournament coming up if you want to go on the tournament." And then I remember in the car when my dad picked me up, gave him the flyer. I said, "Oh, Dad, the tournament's coming up. I want to go on the tournament." And then he was thinking, "Oh, no way, don't go in the tournament. They're dangerous. I used to do them back in the day. You get your teeth knocked out and everything, He reckons back in the day when he was doing it here, Taekwondo, no gloves, no shin guards, no mouth guard.
Yeah.
Kids would get taken,
brass knuckles.
And shit. Used to get cleaned up, right? So when I gave him that, when he used to do it, it was more traditional, whereas kids would really get hurt and stuff. So I was like, "No, what do you mean? I got to wear shin pads, you got to buy me shin pads, you got to buy me gloves, and I got to get a mouth guard and stuff for the tournament." And he goes, "Oh, you're going to wear all that shit?" And then you got to wear that. And he's like, "You'll be fine then, all right, I'll chuck you in." Anyway, I went and did my first competition, and I won it as a novice, and I competed up against kids who are and in these competitions as well, there's no weight divisions. It's just kids, it's age brackets, and you're that age and that's it. Everyone fights everyone. And I won the competition. My first one, 4 kids who had, it was like the state, when I'm saying state, it's pretty much, I was training at a gym called ATI, Martial Arts, which is a Taekwondo gym, and they had 3 or 4 gyms around Perth. The competition was in Malaga, so it was all the gyms got together for that comp. And then my grandma came to watch me and my dad, and I just rinsed all the kids there and won the comp. And that's when they realize shit, and even I realized, I shocked myself. They realized that I've actually got talent. And then from then on, my dad was kind of "You might actually do something with your life." You might actually be able to do something. Then he started paying a bit more attention to me, I guess, and started pushing me, not pushing me, but then we started. For instance, my dad used to drop us off. Yeah. He didn't used to stay and watch. He just used to drop us all off, and he'd never seen me actually spar or compete with another kid before. And then seeing me do that, he was actually like, shit, you know, like you can do this. And then from then on, he kind of like started staying and watching. And then slowly that became coaching. And, you know, as parents do, you know, they think they know best. So, shit like that.
Did he end up buying you the pads? That's what he wanted. He didn't have the pads.
I needed him to compete. Yeah. He complained about it. But he was like, it cost me so much money. You can't believe this. You know, I was like, fuck, it's my first competition, you know?
He's like, I thought I'd get my kid in martial arts. It's like the cheapest sport going around. He's like, fuck, I got to equip him. Protective gear. So you started off at doing Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Obviously, you started receiving love from your father and through sports achievement.
Yeah.
So so how old were you then?
I was 8 when I did my first competition was like around 8. Yeah.
So did you find that was the time where he really started to show more interest?
Yeah. Before that, it was just like, he was like, had a few things going on. He was running like a steel fabrication business and like, I remember at the time we'd all get ready for Taekwondo after school every day. We'd get ready and we'd be waiting, and it's just a matter of our dad gets home in time to take us or not, you know? Like, and there'd be all of us in our gear, and heaps of times we just have to take off the uniform. But when I started winning shit, then he made sure that he was home on time to take me to training. So for sure.
And it's funny how like a lot of we all look for love.
Yes.
Yeah, particularly from my parents and from my father. And then, and obviously you conditioned there, you got it from martial arts and winning.
From winning.
Yeah, and that's obviously probably started kickstarting. I mean, you won early, which got his love early, but also your confidence. But then that's sort of probably the biggest thing that probably snowballed into
100%. Yeah, for sure.
You know, where we are now.
Yeah, 100%. I believe so.
So obviously you didn't stay just doing Taekwondo or we wouldn't be here today. So.
Yeah.
So, where'd you go from there? You sort of went from...
So I was doing Taekwondo, but at and then I was competing in Taekwondo a lot. And then I used to watch... This was when my dad was a big like UFC fan, and this was like early days. So he was watching it, and then I was like, oh yeah, I need to do that too. And I already thought I had all the striking down pat because at this point, you know, I'm doing well in Taekwondo, fighting in these Taekwondo competitions. I think, I'm the king on my feet. I just need, my dad goes, you just need to learn a bit of grappling now, a bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then you'll be sweet, you know. And then by the time you're, 18, you'll be ready to go straight in the UFC. And I was like, sweet. So anyway, he took me to another gym in Wangara, which this gym claimed to have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I rock up on the first day at this other gym. While still doing my Taekwondo, I rock up and my dad goes, oh yeah, you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here. And the guy running the gym goes, yeah, we do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, I'm a black belt. I'm a black belt.
You're never going to let a fucking sale go out the door.
I'm a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Little did I know at the time, talking about Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, traditional Jiu-Jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, sweet, got a black belt.
Once you sign up, same.
Then so I sign up and I start training. Anyway, I'm in this kids class. And we're not doing any jiu-jitsu, we're doing all striking shit. Yeah. And then anyway, it gets to the sparring part of the class, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll spar with these kids. I remember like touching gloves and go, and then these other 2 kids in the class, actually younger than me, but same size, just kicked the fuck out of me. And I was like, man, especially with the hands, because I had all the footwork and the kicks from the Taekwondo background, but these 2 other kids, like, just fucking put hands on me. And I remember I started crying and I was like, fucking, my dad was shocked because he was like, never seen me lose like that, get beaten up in the sparring class. And then I remember going out like after the class crying and be like, I don't want to do it, all upset. And then my dad was saying, oh, you need to throw hands more, you need to throw your hands more. And then my hands were pretty terrible. And that's when my dad, we had a plan to beat those kids. We were at home.
He had a plan.
Yeah, he had a plan. I was just following along. So he was saying, you need it, because I was just throwing kicks, but in Taekwondo you have your hands quite low, and these kids were just stepping in, landing hands on me. Yeah. So he's like, no, you need to do more hands, like kick and then throw your hands and then get out of range. And I was like, right. So then I was practicing at home on the pillows and shit, all the hands, and then I went back and I actually started doing a bit better. I started doing a bit better, and then it obviously got to a point where obviously my hands were only so good that I needed to actually go to a boxing gym. And then that's when he's like, I'll take you to my mate's boxing gym. My mate used to box when he was a kid. We'll go where he used to go, which was like the One Room Boxing Club. He's been around forever, right? So I remember going down there, trying to learn some boxing, and same thing, went down there the first day, got my ass kicked by another kid. And then it was not a vendetta, but now it was like, because, I got my ass kicked the first time, and then we came up with a strategy to then beat those kids. and then I went to this other boxing gym that I had this kid just like jab my head off the whole round. I was like, man, I suck. So then I started training baking to get like good at my hands, and then I had the hands and the kicks. And then from there, back at that other gym, I went and had a Muay Thai fight because I was trying to get competition. I had a Muay Thai fight, and I ended up stopping this kid in the third round. And amongst that as well, whilst I was at that other gym, I was also competing in these karate competitions because in my martial art, I was a black belt, in Taekwondo. But then when I went to this other gym, they had their own belt system. So I was going there originally, I just wanted to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And the coach goes, yeah, we do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then I'm in the class doing kickboxing. And then by then it's too late. But I got surprised because I thought I already knew kickboxing, but then I got my ass handed to me, which then sent me down a rabbit hole, not jiu-jitsu, but sent me down the rabbit hole of then learning how to box, Then I started competing at this other gym at the same time, doing these karate competitions, but I used to wear a white belt in those competitions, but really I was a red belt in Taekwondo at the time. And then I started winning competitions of that, and all these other parents, some of them see me from other competitions, they would scream out, he's actually a black belt, he's a black belt, why is he in that division, he's a black belt. And I was like, no, it's a different martial art. I'm some white belt just piecing these kids up. Used to compete at mixed belt anyway, but that's pretty much what happened early on.
It's crazy with that, when you got people in different martial arts, how you have like Khabib, how he's a world level grappler, and then if he does jiu-jitsu, he'll be a white belt. And then these other guys that they've never done, they've done grappling. There could be Olympic champion wrestlers. They go on a jiu-jitsu comp and they're they're white belts. So even when I competed in Russia, we did the Worlds in 2018. And I remember we rocked up there. I just got my purple belt. It was when the World Cup was on. So we went to the ACB Worlds there. And you're seeing all the Russian guys. They're all, they're all it's not looking a bunch of Khabibs. And then a bunch of Sergi looking blokes. And then you got all these different types of Russian guys that you see there. And then I remember seeing this, and then these guys, and they're all warming up doing their wrestling entries. And you see these fucking wrestling entries. And they're you're like, holy fuck. I'm fucked. I'm fucked. And you see, and then they're pulling out white belts. And blue. And I remember seeing a guy who had guy had a tracksuit. He was in the Olympic team, Russian Olympic team, and he's this probably Mongolian looking guy, ears fucked, just jacked, and he was in the 85 kilo division. So he was in the actual Olympic team. He came out and pulled out a white belt.
Oh my god!
And then I saw him he did these fucking 2 flying arm bars where he snapped 2 guys' arms. And it's the slickest arm bars you've ever seen. And I just went, and this was the first day. I hadn't gone on yet. I was up the next day because I was a purple belt. I'm thinking I'm fucked. I'm going to get fucking mauled. So, and then that was it. We were just watching because one of our other boys, he went and competed that day. So we were there supporting him. And man, I was just going, what the fuck have I signed up for? And because when you compete here, it's all, you know, it is in Australia. It's all, everyone's all friendly and we're all jiu-jitsu, nice circle.
In general,
there it's fucking hostile. No one's, there's no fucking smiles. It's just a business. And even when I had to compete in the warm-up area, then I had in the warm-up area, I had Paolo Mao next to me and some of these other guys are famous black belt competitors, and you're getting all these guys practicing their entries and that, and you're pulling out blue belts and you go, oh, fuck, I'm in for a fucking bad day. But fortunately, I didn't get one of someone who was excessively tough. But no, I actually did pretty well. But but that's one of those things you pull out and you just think it's technically they're not doing anything wrong.
No.
But it's fucked. If you cop one of them, you're fucked. Or if you get a judo, like an elite judo black belt, and he comes in a white belt comp, like you're done.
No.
And you get some guy, some corporate guy who comes in, he's been training for 6 months, a couple times a week. He's fucking done.
Yeah, you're in the wrong place.
No, you're done.
I think in Russia in general, just like, if you're doing combat sports in Russia, they're all going to be a bit harder than here.
No, general. Definitely.
Like they're just harder people.
And it's funny, over there you notice it's like because they're wrestling, they're so fucking strong.
Oh, yeah.
They're so much stronger. And like their wrestling's good, but their jiu-jitsu at the high belts isn't as good.
Of course.
So like when you get like the Brazilian guys who are over there, like they're black belts and that'd piece them up. Yeah. But like definitely like white, blue, and even a bit of purple belt, they were so dominant. But once you went to the real technical levels, they can sort of still be able to manage them. But it's nuts. It's crazy.
It's like talking about that, judo. You generally, the rule is, what I heard is like, if you're a black belt in judo, you're automatically a blue belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. When you come on your first day, the coach should give you the blue belt because you're a black belt in judo.
That doesn't always happen.
That doesn't always happen. And it doesn't translate for wrestling because they don't wear a gi. So they just think it's like, because you don't wear a gi, it doesn't matter. It's like, dude, it's all the fucking same shit.
It's fucking grappling. It's fucking wild. It's wild. With some of the training like you've done over the years, particularly as more going into your being an adult. Some of the gyms, you'll go to some of the gyms these days are all very, a bit more prim and proper, they're cleaner. The old school gyms were more like rough sort of, and from the people training there to the style. Sort of what's been your experience with like different sort of gyms that you've trained at?
As in like through adult, like more
as an adult, like in the last since you've been doing more actual MMA.
Yeah, well, I mean, the gym we train in now, it's pretty rough. But to be honest, man, like you get killers training in garages. Where it's like people think that, they walk into a gym and they think like, it's got to be some big glamorous. You got to have all the equipment. Sometimes people got all the gear but no idea. And sometimes, world champs, they got like, at the start anyway, it's like they've got no gear but all the idea, I mean, where I train now is, pretty like small gym, like rough. I mean, everyone on the mats like is a savage trying to break your limbs and that. But
no luxuries.
Yeah, no luxuries. No. Like my coach Ramel, he loves to put the heaters on.
In summer.
Even in summer, it doesn't matter. Heaters on non-stop, and I'm dying. I can't handle it. But you know what? Like it's his gym, and it's that's fine. It's his rules, and that's it. But I'm dying, man. Like even like the other day, like 35 degrees or something, heaters on. Just fucking, it must have been like, I reckon it was 60 in there. And you're rolling. So you got a tight rashi on at the same time, rolling as well. Yeah, it's just very uncomfortable. Like I'm a fit guy, but I do 5 rounds and I'm lying down. I feel like I'm done. Like I physically can't. I've got to go outside and lie down and recover for about 5 minutes, So it's definitely... Yeah, it's not optimal, but it's his gym and like obviously it breeds him tough. Breeds him tough. How it is sitting in a sauna. It's fucking hard, right? You want to get out and get a drink.
That's the thing also. Like I feel having that environment like uncomfortable and rough and all the stuff, it really teaches you like certain things. And I feel we've seen it in a lot of sports, even bodybuilding or with the very old school gyms and stuff that produce like the best athletes. I feel. Training in an environment like that is probably even better,
particularly.
Especially mentally. Because comfort a lot of times, like when you get too comfortable, like you lose your edge. So actually keeping that I feel is very important.
And the thing is, it's like balancing hard training, no bullshit training, and then balancing overtraining, balancing injury. So that's where I think it's it's an interesting approach. You have like the old like shooter box style, which is literally they'd knock you the fuck out. And then you're rocking up tomorrow, sparring, then you get knocked out again. And then your fights next week, you probably got knocked out 3 times in the week leading into it.
I actually reckon the worst out of all the training I've done, I reckon the most training that's been like that is definitely in the amateur boxing gyms, more than the MMA gyms. I've had heaps more brain damage through doing amateur boxing than I have in MMA. I haven't been concussed. I've been slightly concussed, like doing MMA in the last, I've been doing MMA now for like 4 or 5 years, like actually competing. 4 years when I go, 2019, so 2018, so 4 years, yeah. Going on to 5 years. Next year will be my 5th year of competing in MMA and training specifically MMA with the little gloves on, right? But I took the most brain damage through doing, I reckon, boxing. Like boxing is fucking ruthless. Like at a young age too, like the hardest rounds I've done has been a young age. Like anywhere from, I had my first boxing fight, I was 10, right? So from 10 till my last boxing fight when I was 17, hard sparring, twice a week, beat the fucking shit out of each other. You know, and boxing, it's like you got big gloves on and a head guard, so it's all good. And it's like, but little do we know that doesn't actually stop your brain from rattling. In my opinion, I reckon the head guard's nearly worse because it's actually weighing your head down and also blocking your peripherals as well. And you get this misconception with the head guard on because you don't feel the punches landing, but you feel the impact. You think that you're safe when you're not. No. You know, and then you go home after and you got a terrible headache. I reckon, and that was actually probably the roughest. My dad had a boxing gym. He had a boxing gym, and we used to train just in a shed. So, like, no aircon, nothing, just a shed in an industrial area. And this is the training. So, this is the training. First off, you start off 1.6K run, and the end 600 meters is this fucking hill. And we're all young, so we're, like, racing each other. The run, I was doing the 1.6K in under 6 minutes, like, as, like, a 11-year-old, anywhere from 11 till 7, like gunning it. Then we get back, 20 minutes of skipping. Every 2 minutes, doubles for a minute, non-stop, for no stopping. After that, minimum, like 4 rounds shadow boxing, and once again, sprints in between there, and then you'd go into your pad work or bag work or whatever it is, and then you'd have like conditioning on top of that. They get you doing push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, all this shit, like all the body weight stuff, and then you spar. Once you're fucked, then you spar. Once you're completely fucked, you know, that's how they do it in the boxing gyms. So each session, 2 hours to 90 minutes, and obviously all these people work during the day, so you're doing one session, so you got to try and cram it all in. And then on top of that, I had my dad getting me up in the morning, getting me, like when I was like 10, when I booked my first boxing fight. He spoke to his friend who used to box, and his friend said, he goes, what does Cody need to do to make sure he's fit? And his friend goes, he needs to run. He goes, well, he already runs at the gym a bit. He goes, how much is he running there? He goes, I think it's about 1.6K at the start and then a few sprints and stuff. And he goes, no, he needs to get up every morning and run. So my dad is like 10 years old. I live like right across the road from a school, my primary school I used to go to, and there was a big oval on the school. And he used to get me every morning, wake up and go run. Around the oval, I do 10 laps. 1 lap of the oval, pretty sure was about 700 meters. So I'm running like 7Ks every morning and then going to school. And then after school, going to either the taekwondo gym or whatever, the taekwondo gym or that other gym I was training at for a period, or the boxing. And then after that, I would go straight to the boxing gym and not eat anything. Just like, you don't need, you're good, just go train there. And that was just rough. And doing all of that as well, running again, the 1.6K, doing the fucked up warm-up, then taking fucking terrible head damage like in the sparring. And not only that, is like, because I was always quite small as a kid, all the other kids my age, they were actually a lot bigger than me. So I was a lot faster, but that's like when they would hit me, I'd be getting hit by someone who's like 15 kilos heavier than me as well. So that would do even significantly more damage. And I would have only been 30 kilos at the time. So 15 kilos is like half my body weight. Some of these kids would be 45, so I'm getting hit by them, you know? And that boxing, my boxing career is definitely the most like brain damage I've had, and the most roughest type sparring that I've had. The boxing gyms don't fuck around, you know? Do
you find the overtraining that you had at that age stunted your growth or affected 100%. your progression?
I feel so, 100%. So, you know, my dad's 6 foot, or just off 6 foot, just under. I don't know, I haven't measured him, but he's pretty tall. He's taller than me. So my older brother, my eldest brother, he's also like same height as my dad. My mum's not a short lady at all, but my grandma was quite short and my dad's dad quite short too. So I don't know. I feel like it definitely did stunt my growth a lot. I feel like it's okay. Well, as a kid, yeah, it was definitely overtraining, which obviously at the time I didn't know. I was just like being told instructions, you know, just trying to go.
The problem with that is what I feel. It wasn't more so the training, but it was actually probably the malnutrition that you were having.
I was not
actually
eating.
providing the right, like, you know, fuel to your system for the amount of training that you were doing.
What do you used to eat?
That's a massive problem when you're growing.
What do you used to eat?
I was the fastest eater as a kid, so like I ate nothing. What I lived off was a stunner meal a day. That was it.
A what?
A stunner meal, you know. Stunner meal. One of them a day. Breakfast didn't exist in my house when I was a kid. Wake up, shower, go to school. No breakfast.
They're going to bring them back.
It's like, mate, it's a good value, bro.
Man,
it was on the side.
Yeah.
So imagine if you really break it down, like, he's probably burning like thousands of calories on top of his baseline, you know, and he's not, and he's growing also, like as a teenager, his hormones are peaking and all the stuff, and he's literally catabolic the whole time. Like that's
makes
intense.
sense because I was. This is when I won my first national title in boxing. So
he was sitting with mindset.
Legit, dude. Yeah, my first nationals in boxing that I won was in 2012. It was in Tasmania. I was in year 8 of high school, starting year 8, and I fought. I was 32 kilos. That was my division. 32 kilos. I would have been 13 at the time. 32 kilos at 13. The next
my
year,
dog weighs more. A lot more.
Yeah. The next year I fought. I was year 9 in high school. I fought at 34 kilos. Put on 2 kilos.
In year 9.
In year 9.
14-year-old.
Mate, I've got photos. I'll pull these fucking photos out after and I'll show you how young. Dude, people thought I was legit 7. Like, I'm not lying. At the high school, Wanneroo High School, I was the shortest kid that they've had ever for that age. Ever existed, like, at that high school. That high school's been there for a fucking long time. The shortest kid ever. I used to eat fuck all. The only thing I used to eat was a stunner meal a day, that's it. Every day, cheeseburger meal or stunner meal. That was it. I didn't use.
You don't get both.
No,
you pick one. You pick one.
Yeah.
If you win a fight, you get a double.
I didn't used to get Happy Meals because the toy doesn't matter. It's like, what are you gonna do?
Toy makes you soft.
Yeah, exactly. Toy makes you soft. When did I have time to play with the fucking toy?
Yes, toy fucking throws the window.
Yeah. So I was severely malnourished. And I ended up, it got to a point, I think I was in year 9, end of year 9, that my parents or my mum thought that it might be a good idea to actually take me to a specialist, a hormone specialist, because I wasn't hitting puberty, you know. I had no signs of puberty kicking in at all. It's a funny story. They took me to, this is gold, they took me to this hormone specialist, right? And I would have been, you know what, it might have actually been in year 10. It must, because I left school in year 9. I pulled out of school. To work for my dad, I wasn't working. I was training. So I wanted to leave too. I had no interest in school anyway. I was just fucking around. But anyway, I must have been about 15 at the time. So it would have been year 10, and my parents took me to see a hormone specialist, and the lady got me down on the bed, and it was my grandma there and my mum at the time. And she just said, I've got to, you've got to go outside. I've got to, Cody's got to get his pants off. I've got to have a look at his privates and stuff like that, see where he's at with his hormone development. Anyway, she pulled my pants down, and she was attractive. Like, this girl was actually hot. So, and me being 15, I'm sitting there going, fuck, don't get an erection. And she's down there playing with all my parts. She's not holding back. She's playing with all of them, grabbing my balls individually, putting them next to this chart and seeing.
Give me a little Western hand grip.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there. That's the most action I've had at that point. And then, anyway.
You thought you had some game there.
Yeah. So fucking, anyway, she does all her evaluation, whatever, pretty much like feels me up in the fucking bed. And then she goes, right, put your pants back on, get my pants back on, sit back down on the chair. All right, Emma, that's my mum's name, Emma, and you can come back in. That's my grandma. Come back in. They go, right, now when Cody came in here, I thought that, you know, she had this necklace at the time. This necklace, this green necklace, I still remember it. And there was all sizes of like circle balls on this like necklace, just like spheres, right? And it was like size 1 was like a fucking size of a pea. And it was like size 2 was like more like size of like a macadamia. And then size 3, and it kept going up around the necklace. She was like, now, when Cody first came in here, and my mum and grandma are sitting there, I thought that his testes were going to be the size of maybe a 4. Like, and then this is like fucking size of maybe like, I don't know, like maybe like a big macadamia or a big like hazelnut or something like that, right? Or maybe like a Malteser size. And then she was like, really? His size is more around the size of the 11, which actually really surprised me. And my mum and grandma just started cracking up, like, big nuts, Cody, big nuts, hey, like this. You got big balls, like, slapping me like this. And I'm just fucking so embarrassed. But at the same time, she was quite attractive, so I was like, yes.
Your dad would have been like, you got it for me?
Yeah, so...
that's my boy.
Yeah, that was a big concern. So I know it's a bit of a tangent story, but to prove what you're saying is it was obviously from severe malnourishment that I didn't peak and I stunted my growth and didn't have the hormones of the other kids and stuff like that. And my friends at school, they all used to give me shit. They used to call me Pindick. Pindick, because I was fucking tiny. And you know the funniest thing though? I lost my virginity before all of them. So I was like, one day I was actually this girl at my high school, she was giving me shit one day. Like, she's like, oh yeah, fucking Pindick, and everyone's laughing, ha ha ha, you know, and I was like, and I'd already had a root at this point, you know, so I was like, hey, might be a pin, but goes like a sewing machine. All my mates started laughing. She looked like the biggest fuckwit as well. Oh, it was gold, bro, yeah.
Chestnut checkers, baby.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely fucking.
That's hilarious.
Malnourished as a kid, man.
Who's the couple of the fighters you looked up to as a kid?
Well, I liked watching MMA. I definitely liked George St. Pierre.
Yeah,
he was a big one for me. Yeah. George St. Pierre, man, like he was just a fucking athlete. You know what I mean? And so good everywhere. And he's different. Like he would adapt to the fighter he's fighting. You know, a lot of fighters like for instance, Conor. It's kind of like that. Someone like Conor, I feel like makes people adapt to him. He fights the same. He's got your measure and he hits you and you go to bed. But I feel like why George is so good is because he would adapt to his opponent so well and on the fly. But I reckon big influences like George St. Pierre. I used to watch a lot of Floyd Mayweather as well. My dad used to love referencing Floyd Mayweather. So yeah, a lot of Floyd Mayweather.
So that was one of his favourite fighters?
Yeah, one of his favourites, Floyd. He would always watch Floyd's fight.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think like, you know, like Floyd just being so perfect, you know, like that's his whole thing is like Floyd's fucking perfect. He can't do anything wrong. And he just works so hard. Floyd works so hard, man. My dad used to say things like to me, like, because I'd wake up, you know, to go running in the morning on the oval. And I used to sometimes I'd be running, my knees would start hurting so much just from the amount of training I was having, and I couldn't even run. It's so cold. At the time, like in winter or whatever, my knees would be hurting. I was legit in tears because I can't do my running around the oval every morning. And some days I would then run 2 laps and then I'd be in tears and I'd walk home. And I'd come in and my dad would be like, what are you doing? You done your laps already? And I'd say, oh, damn, my knees are killing so much. He's like, what about Floyd's knees? You reckon Floyd's got sore knees? Huh? What do you reckon he did? He was like, that's all right. If you don't want to be the best, that's all good. I understand. If you want to be a bum, that's all good. I mean, like,
that's what the best.
Yeah. He's like, if you want to be a bum, that's fine. You know? It was just like, but just know, Floyd didn't get sore knees. He did his running. And he's like, you want to be a world champ? Go do your run. And from a young age. So Floyd was a big one. It was always like anything that I did, like, because at the time as well, I was actually boxing more than anything because that's where I could get the most competition in. So at the time, it was always Floyd. It was always whenever I was like, oh man, Dad, like I've hurt my arm training or whatever, I'll be like, I don't know if I can train today. It was like, like, do you reckon Floyd skipped training? I would have been like 11. Little did I know he was guilt tripping me.
And you look 6.
I looked like I was 6. You reckon Floyd would have skipped that? I'd be like, oh, probably not. And I just fucking go, use the other hand, whatever, So, Floyd Mayweather I watched a lot growing up. And as well, like, everything he says and like what Floyd's done for himself too, like as a businessman, how he's marketed himself. Yes, he can't read, but fucking hell, man, he is clever, He definitely is the king of
He's the innovator.
Who's done that in fucking boxing? No one, He managed himself, marketed himself, So a lot of Floyd, a lot of George St. Pierre, a lot of Floyd Mayweather, yeah.
What about fights in the pipeline for yourself?
Pipeline is in like
sort of coming up.
At the moment, so I've nominated to fight on all the promotions in February next year. That's kind of when they kickstart. Like as in there's an Eternal on a day before the UFC here in Perth. I've nominated for that.
Just one day before.
Yeah, there's one like the day before the UFC. Yep. Yeah, so I think the UFC Sunday morning, Eternal's Saturday night. So I've nominated for that. But also I've nominated for Hex. I've nominated for Beatdown Promotions, which is in March. I've nominated for a lot of promotions, but at the moment, nothing is confirmed yet, but it's looking like I might have a fight on Hex, which will be a pretty big fight, which will be the 24th of February. I'm pretty sure it's the 24th. I could be wrong, but that's what's looking. Nothing's confirmed yet, so can't really say much, but that's what it's looking like.
How many times a year would you want to fight?
Man,
ideally.
I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was thinking... because, since I've turned pro, I haven't been necessarily the most active pro. Weird because a lot of, throughout my childhood, I had little injuries here and there. But as I've gotten older, I actually suffered some pretty big injuries, as in I ruptured both of my ankles. So that was the most severe injury I've done. So I haven't been too active. But I was thinking, I'm going to turn 25 next year, and I don't reckon there's been a fighter that's had 12 fights in 1 year, 12 fights in 12 months. If I'm healthy, I would love to be able to do that, but I know that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Especially in Australia. I want to have 6 next year. 6 fights.
Are you finding you getting difficulty getting matched up?
Oh, mate, yeah. Why do
you reckon that is?
I think, the thing is, before I went into MMA, I already, people in the boxing scene already know me. I won nationals 3 times as a boxer. Was always on the WA state team, so everyone in WA knows me. I had 33 amateur boxing fights. I've been training since I was a young kid. I've also been competing actively, not anymore, but back then in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, winning Pan-Pacific medals and titles and stuff like that. And I think that even before I had my first MMA fight, everyone in the fighting scene kind of knew already who I was in Perth. I think that's why it's been hard to get me fights in general, because I had an amateur fight, but really looking back, I could have even just gone straight pro because of my accolades that I'd done before. So that was always hard getting me fights. And then not only that, now what's hard about getting me fights is I'm obviously in MMA 4-1, right? But my skills speak a lot higher than my record. People know that I'm up there. I believe I can hang in there with the guys in the UFC. I have no doubt about that. But my record doesn't say that. So for them to fight me, it's a risky fight for them. It's like, for me, I've got nothing to lose. I know I'm going to win. I know I can win. But they've got the record, so they've got things to lose, whereas I don't have things to lose. You know what I mean? So that's what's made it hard for some of these top tier guys who have had, 10 plus fights. They see a young kid coming up and they go, oh, well, it's probably not the safest fight we should choose. You know what I mean? Everyone's trying to get to the UFC, right?
Of course.
So, and managers, that's managers' jobs. Managers' jobs are,
create the path.
Create the path to get there. And if they see, because all that matters is the record. It doesn't matter really who you fought. it just matters your record, man. You're like 10-0, boom, you're going to get the shot.
And even though you're 4-1, you're undefeated as an amateur.
You
got five fights.
Five fights.
Yeah, and then and as a pro, you're 4-1. You've finished everyone.
Everyone in my MMA
you finished?
career, I finished.
Yeah, and then the one
every win.
And the
one that I didn't was the Steve fight.
Yeah, and that was the one loss you had was a 3-round. Like it was fight of the year on Eternal.
Yeah.
And it was like wild fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to a guy who's UFC level.
Yeah.
Like essentially. So like that guy's ready. Steve's quality.
I took that fight as well on 3 weeks' notice. I was training.
Yeah.
But when you train and you've got an opponent in mind, you can do things to start to prepare.
Yeah. I
was looking for a fight and they couldn't match me up. And I was waiting and I was still training. Hopefully they'd match me up. And then they go, you fight Steve, and I think it was even less than 3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks. It was before one of the CrossFit sessions. I was about to go into Dignus, and Jazz goes, "Oh, got you a fight? Like, you want to fight Steve?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck it, yeah, anyone, doesn't matter, like, whatever." And Steve at the time, I think he's a little bit older than me. Steve, he was on a tear, knocked everyone out, eternal champion. Like, he was coming up to bantamweight to fight with me. And, obviously, I didn't get to prep. He was actually prepping for a 5-round title fight at the time. So he was in top condition, and not taking anything away from him.
No.
I'm not saying that maybe it would have went different. And that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just explaining on my end what I was doing at the time,
Of course.
So early on in my career, most people would have gone, "Oh, fighting Steve Ernst, it's probably too early for you."
Of course.
And
you wouldn't have taken it.
And they wouldn't have taken it.
Yeah, of course.
I don't give a fuck. I got to get it. What are you going to do? Like, you're picking and choosing opponents, right? What are you going to do when you get in the big leagues? It's not worth getting there and then getting the shit kicked out of you if you can't dominate the guys in your country first.
Of course.
If you can't dominate the guys in your country, you shouldn't be there.
It's risky, I feel, like taking like easy fights and all that stuff, and then having to fight like people that they are like way high caliber. All of a sudden you're you're like, what's happening?
Because you're going to get exposed. And those
guys
who avoid a lot of guys, they know, well, they avoid them because there's a lack of faith in their ability to confidently beat someone. If they've got 100% faith, like Jake Paul, like a guy that he won't take a fight that's 50-50. He'll only fight a guy that he knows you're done.
He's smart.
And, he's smart. Like, and he'll do that. And a lot of people, and you can see why people do that, particularly when they probably, I guess, know that they may not belong there, and they might, if you can get a potentially easier path, you might get lucky and get a gig. And once you're there, you're fucked. Because you get exposed straight away in the UFC. So, you can sort of see that mindset why people do it. But I mean, for guys like yourself, it's frustrating. And in the UFC, it is, because that's saying it's more in boxing where they really pad guys and keep them away. Whereas in the UFC, guys can't really hide.
Oh, no. The series itself is like they matched up two killers from opposite sides of the world and they go fucking go at it. And only one of them get a contract. Most of the time, only one of them get a contract. And I feel like that's the hardest thing with MMA is like you win, and then it's like you lose, you're at the back of the line. One loss, you're at the back of the line. That's realistic. And then you got to fucking go on another 5-6 fight win streak. And everyone has a bad day.
Of course,
Like everyone has a bad day. Everyone also has a good day, Not every day is going to be your best performance, you know what I mean? Sometimes you might only just lose. It might be close, It's not like you got finished, but they don't care. They see the L on the record. That's an L.
Of course.
Because you think about something like the UFC, such a big organization, right? There's so many fighters in the world. They don't have time to watch every single fight. Oh, this guy, but he only lost because he just did this one thing, or they don't care. They need numbers on a piece of paper. They just see the L. It's just numbers for them, and they go, okay, 10-0. Oh yeah, this guy.
He's got to win a few more before he gets in.
Yeah, exactly.
So momentum is very crucial.
Very crucial. Exactly. But I feel like as well, because it is like that, that also makes people not take fights or not risk take because it is such a harsh game. They don't take the risk, whereas like they probably could have got away with taking the risk, Like even that fight I had with Steve, even though I lost it, my stock legit went up from that.
Yeah, of course.
People like were every time where I go, oh, you had that crazy fight with Steve. I said, oh yeah, I did, and my stock went up even though it was a loss, So
Big time.
it doesn't all have to be bad when you lose, you know. Like
it seems you are a risk taker, or like even from your story that you were sharing from before, like you know, from a young age, you're always fighting people, losing and then coming back better, and you kept improving, so that helped you grow in so many different ways. Like, and become who you are now.
Yeah, I'm super competitive, so and I'm competitive with things I care about, and I feel like I have like things that I'm good at, I'm competitive with. Things that I'm not good at, I'm not competitive with at all. But it's like I would have this thing in my head when I was a kid. It's like if someone walks in the room and they're the same age as me and the same weight, they're immediately like my enemy. I'd start seeing, and they're a threat, and I'd be like, especially in the boxing gym or something. If some kid walked in, he's like, I had a couple fights before. I'm like, oh yeah, what weight? What like how like what weight did you fight at? How old are you? You know? And then I'd be thinking in my head, oh fuck, is this guy a threat? And I wouldn't want to be friends with him because I'm like, no, he's my enemy. It's just like fucking kids, you know. But like from a young age, like, I'm very competitive.
Do or die, yeah.
I'm very competitive, like very competitive. So, it's like. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, I just don't, and I don't like losing because when I was a kid, it was always about you win, you get love and attention, you know, so I got addicted to that. And then it's like you lost and it was like, you're nothing, you know, you kind of lost, you should have been, it wasn't even you're nothing, like them words were never actually said, it was always like, you're fucking better than him. Yeah. Are you fucking serious? You're heaps better than that kid. What the fuck were you doing? How'd you get hit? Why were your hands down?
It's how you internalized it.
Yeah, I fucking took it to heart, and then what actually happened is I started putting a lot of pressure on myself as a young age. So I actually started developing like quite bad anxiety, even to like do sparring in the gym, because I was worried that like if I got hit with one punch after the sparring session, I'd get in the car and my dad would be like, how'd you get hit? It's like I might have hit the kid about 300 times, but he'd be like, how'd you get hit? So you got hit that one time.
Floyd didn't get hit.
I'd be like, exactly. That's what it would be. It'd be like, yeah, it's like, I only got hit once. He's like, you think Floyd got hit? You think Floyd got caught? Have you ever seen Floyd get? I was like, fuck, man, like, you know, can't all be perfect. You know, it's like, well, Floyd was perfect. You know, so you know, not to that extent, but along the lines. You know, I'd have to. Yeah. I've taken a lot of punches, so you know, I can't exactly remember pinpoint, but you know, along the lines of that. So I actually like put a lot of pressure on myself, and it actually, I love the sport, but I also put so much pressure on myself that it was like a love-hate thing, you know. I loved winning, and but it was more like when I won, it was a relief because now I can be like loved, and now I can actually chill. It's like if I lost, then I'm like, fuck, like this is just gonna be the worst thing ever for me, you know.
So when you did have that one loss,
oh, you mean recently?
When you lost to Steve? Yeah. So how did you feel during that period, and what changes did you make, or how'd you grow from that?
So yeah, well, I mean, in general, I had a lot of my training regimen. Like I was going through a transition period. I used to train out of like Korean Jiu-Jitsu, right? And I used to do my MMA there, and then I moved on to train at Louis Stroh Combat Academy, and I just had a couple people around me at the time who were kind of toxic towards me, and kind of not using me, but just maybe wanted to be there like yes men. I had a few yes men around. Soon as after that Steve fight, I realized that I needed to cut off certain individuals, and I really needed to not leave my training down to chance and eliminate which is like, even if I won that fight, I would have still done the same thing. And which I did. But then I realized that wasn't enough. And it got to a point, I did feel a little bit depressed after losing that fight. Not depressed at the fact that I lost, just a bit depressed that someone was actually better than me. You know, like that ate me, and then started eating me alive a little bit. And that's when I realized that I did have like a lot of traumas and stuff like that I needed to resolve, which had been going on since I was a kid. I've had a lot of past childhood traumas, and I actually seeked out some help. I needed some help, and I'd always been talking about, you know, going to speak to someone and going to see someone, but then it's kind of like you need that big smack in the mouth, you know. Life like needs to give you that that wake up call. And for me, it was that Steve fight. And I realized something deep down within me wasn't right and that I needed to fucking sort that out before getting my next fight booked if I actually want to progress further in life. And that's when I actually stuck to my word and came to you, Theo.
And asked for support,
asked for that support. And I did 10 weeks of a big spiritual healing journey with Theo, which was fucking intense. And
what came up?
Oh, for me, it was a lot of childhood trauma. It was a lot of my problems come from childhood trauma, but not only that, like just the whole, my belief system, my identity, everything. I'm known as Cody, the fighter, removing that completely, and just my inner child was so suppressed through, I never got to be a child. I never got to do things that, regular kids would do. Like I didn't get to,
He almost missed a bit like being a kid.
Yeah, big part of it.
Sorry to interrupt you. But the thing is, with Cody, it was very important, first of all, to identify like what was happening inside his mind, so we can see like the chaos and the stories that he had and everything else, and break things down. But the first thing that we identified was what was happening in his physiology. It was not normal for him, like the amount of training that he was going, not fueling his body. His body was breaking down even when I started asking him that questions and all that stuff, because, with my background, I can really see it straight away. So we had to really make a plan, not only how to actually sort out like what was happening internally, but also to help him, start like making progression like with his body and his hormones and everything else. It's very, very important. Definitely. Because doing also that work, which is very, very hard and intense, you really need to have the resources, and your body and your physiology has to be like in a state that can really, be resourced and handle it.
And you would have really understood that. The way that you were brought up and the way that you were experiencing pain and tried to numb yourself was through training.
Yeah, through training.
Yeah, and you probably didn't realise that till then, until you sort of got that work done. Because a lot of people, they'll think, they'll run away from. We all have behaviours that you go to sort of numb ourselves from not wanting to sort of feel what we're supposed to be feeling and supposed to be expressing. And a lot of people will be, whether it's porn, alcohol, drugs, phone time, food, video games, watching Netflix, whatever it is, talking negative shit to people, anything gets all that dopamine, but a lot of people don't. They're almost more, a bit more obvious ones, but a lot of people don't overtrain, like going all into training to run away from your problems.
Yeah.
And then another ones that a lot of people do is working.
Yeah.
So it's almost like building a career and getting fit they sound like they are two good things, but if they come from an unhealthy place and from masking pain and a lot of people, and it's super common. We saw that during COVID when gyms closed for 4 months. And you saw what fucking happened to people.
Yeah, 100%.
Like just absolute meltdowns.
Yeah.
And then they got to substitute their numbing device.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people then are like, oh shit, I can't try at the gym.
Yeah.
So what do? Go to food, go to this, go to that, and they all fucking blow up. Or they go to these other vices because same thing, because they're just transferring the pain from one numbing device to the next.
Yeah.
And being able to, I think, understand the fact that you got to go through that to realize that you're overtraining, as a numbing tool, and that was from a fear of failure, from the conditional love from your father.
So before meeting Theo, the great thing is also that I actually had I'd met someone which is now my partner that was able, like Zoe, she was able to also realize what I was like before doing the work and afterwards, and actually be able, this is how fucked I was, right? Think of this. We would go out for a meal somewhere, okay? And then the next day I'd wake up and I'd go on the treadmill and I'd be going 10, 12 Ks with headphones in, calling myself a piece of shit just to make up for going out for that meal with her the day before. And she'd be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You're fucked in the head. You need to, stop. I had this huge fucking eating disorder, this huge fucking problem. When I started doing work with Theo, then I stopped feeling negative about enjoying myself, because I've never had enjoyment, and I've always felt guilty about enjoying myself, If I didn't train before doing the work with Theo and work on myself, if I didn't train, I would feel depressed. That whole day I'd just feel fucking empty. what is my worth? I feel like a piece of shit. Like, why am I here? What if I can't train? What am I? And I legit say that to myself, like, you're a piece of shit. You didn't train today. And this was all my father in my ear. You're a piece of shit. You didn't train today. You're a fucking bum.
And I remember in the beginning also, like, I kept asking him, okay, so when you're not training, like, for example, on that weekend, when you have some time to actually spend with yourself, how do you do it? How do you feel during that? And it was straight away for him. Like, he realized I cannot stay with myself. I cannot sit down with myself and the voice inside my head.
Yeah.
That's why he always had to run away and go and train so he won't be with that.
Yeah, big time. That was a real big one for me. Like, like you said before, training is great, but it's your intention behind it. It's like, why are you doing this? Are you just fucking punishing yourself because that's your belief system? You believe you need to? It's the intention behind it, you know? Are you getting better from this training, or are you actually overtraining and working yourself for no actual good reason, you know? And I've done that my whole life, you know, like overtrained to the point just because of belief. And I'm very grateful for having my dad actually push me from a young age, because it's taught me a lot of things. It's taught me mental resilience. It's taught me work ethic, work for shit that you want. And not only my dad, but my grandma as well. She was a very big part of my life. When I was a young kid, like, I had like a lot of issues at home, you know. Let's just say my parents weren't necessarily the most law-abiding citizens. So, you know, my grandma raised me for a lot of that time. And she, you know, grandparents always do a better job because they've had their chance and everything they did, they fucked up on. They get a second chance with the grandchild, right? So she raised me since I was a young kid. So she was the only one in my family that I actually felt unconditionally loved. She's the only one who made me feel unconditionally loved. And we were very, very close. She used to take me to training. She went to fucking Brazil with me. She came to Brazil with me when I went there for jiu-jitsu. When I was like 16, I got my blue belt in Brazil. You know, she came with me there. It's a fucking hostile place, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, yeah, man, we were that fucking close. And then I went to America to compete in the Worlds. I know I'm going off a little bit off track, but I thought I may as well tell you whilst I'm here. I went to compete in the Worlds for jiu-jitsu. So my last boxing fight, I had a bit of a bad concussion. I kept getting concussions like that whole year, just even in sparring. And it got to a point, I had one of my last boxing fights when I was 17, I had a concussion. I said, you know what? I need to give my brain a break. I mean, even my parents agreed on it too. My dad and I was like, yeah, maybe you should try and see what happens with jiu-jitsu. Because I was always doing boxing and jiu-jitsu. But when the jiu-jitsu season was happening, that's when the boxing season was happening. Like, you know, you win the nationals, and then if you win the nationals, you can do the fight offs, and if you win them, then you go on the Olympic team, and then if you win them, you can go fight in the Worlds, and then you win in the Worlds, and you go fight in the Olympic Games. It was always the Olympic Games, but with having all this head damage, I was like, you know what, fuck it. I was 17. I was like, I'm gonna have a year of doing jiu-jitsu, because my coach at the time, Fabio, said to me, oh, do you want to go and do the Worlds? You go do the Worlds. You know, if you win a world title in jiu-jitsu, you get to the UFC. Like, that's a big accomplishment. So I always put it off for boxing instead, because that was more a priority. And then one year I went and competed in the Worlds in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Anyway, I ended up losing in the quarterfinals, and then I stayed in California for 3 months, which was end of 2017, early 2018. Stayed in California for 3 months, and I actually just went back to a boxing gym over there because I hadn't done it for a year. I spent a whole year just doing jiu-jitsu. Went and did boxing over there, obviously took some more brain damage, like worse than ever, because in America they do minimum, no matter the age, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 rounds. And you come in, you warm
10
up.
rounds of sparring.
10 rounds. And
3 times a week.
3 times a week. Head guard, big gloves, lace-up gloves, fucking the whole lot. No matter what age, whatever, 10 rounds, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it's a lot of rounds. And you got kids I was sparring with guys who trained with Mikey Garcia and people like that, sparring with the guy who was like number 3 in California at the time, you know, fucking guys who are high level and just getting the shit kicked out of me. I thought I was a good boxer, right? Over there I was getting made piss. Anyway, took more brain damage. Anyway, came back to Australia, and my grandma picked me up from the airport and came back living with my mum. And my grandma apparently hadn't been too well, and she's a very strong lady, and she ended up going to the doctor, or she wouldn't go to the doctors. That was her first problem. She was always in denial. Like, no, I'm fine, soldier on, you know. So she retired from cleaning that year. She cleaned her whole life, and then she retired that year. And as she stopped, she ended up actually getting, which we didn't know at the time, but she ended up getting like leukemia. And it was like a rare type of leukemia where you get it, and the only way they would find out is they had to take a bone marrow sample from her hip, and they did that, and then they found out that it was actually the type of leukemia that you're born, that kids are born with, and they die immediately. So she's only like the second case in the entire world to develop this type of leukemia at that age. So rare. The doctors were like, what the fuck? Anyway, so they pretty much told us, and I went with them when they were to deliver the news. Me and my mum were there and my auntie, because we were all very close with my grandma, and they delivered the news, and they just said, you know, you haven't got long, and we don't know how long, but it's already affecting your chromosomes. It's already in your DNA. We'll run chemo, but it's not going to help, or all it's going to do is we're going to try and give you a better quality of life. And she went from fucking fit lady running her own cleaning business her whole life. She wasn't even, I think she passed away, she was 70 years old. She retired at 69, and then she ended up getting this like severe illness at 70. Never drank, never smoked, healthy as fuck. Like just, and like a workhorse, man. She was the matriarch of our family, holding it all together, you know, big responsibility. She was like, my grandma, like, I would call her up at like 2 a.m. because I was petrified of spiders, like petrified. And I had no fly screens on my windows in my house. All the fly screens had been ripped off for whatever reason, you know. So I'd open the window at night, but then obviously bugs would come in, and I'd wake up and there'd just be a huge spider, and I'm like arachnophobic bad. And I'd call her up, and I'd be like, Gran, there's a spider in my room. I need to come up to your house and sleep at your house. I was like 12, 13 at the time. She would legit get up, fucking drive 20 minutes to pick me up and take me up to her house, and I'd sleep at her house. Like, she would do anything for our family, anything, right? Then she ended up getting sick, and then I decided I was having some trouble at home at that point, just like not getting along with my mum and that. So I'd actually moved in with my grandma, and that's when like I could see her every day declining to that point when that was fucking, like, now that I think of it, I regret it because I was in so much pain seeing her go through that because we were so close. She was like my mum and dad combined. I was in so much pain, and I used to numb myself. And the way I used to numb myself was going to training. So I would legit go to training. I wouldn't even speak to her some days. She'd be sitting there, hi, Cody, and I'd like ignore her because I couldn't, like, and we're so close, I couldn't deal with it. And I used to suppress myself so much. And it's funny because all I've done my whole life is train, that my family actually said to me, like, while she was dying, they said, oh no, Cody, go to training. Like, my granny even was like, make sure you keep going to training, you know, keep going to training, don't stop training. So it was always like training, but I was using that as a numbing mechanism. When she passed away, I was in so much pain, and I moved, my grandpa sold the house. I was living with my grandma. Then I ended up having to move to my own apartment on my own in Joondalup. And obviously no one around, on my own in Joondalup, in my own apartment. That's when I had these fucking voices coming in. And I was fucked. Like, because I didn't mourn the death properly, I just got on with it because my parents were like, you know, everyone in my family, Cody, just keep going to training. So I was fucking, my grandma, and that's when I had my first MMA fight. So what happened with my first MMA fight? I know it's a bit of a tangent, but my grandma, I came back from America, and then I said, right, I want to do MMA because the cage ban got lifted. I was 19 at the time. The cage ban had been lifted because before then it was banned, and Rob Whittaker actually cut the thing, and Mark McGowan was the guy who allowed the cage to actually to fight in a cage again in Perth. So the first show we had here was at Metro's, and it was Hex. And I went and watched that, and then I was like, fuck, the cage is back. Now I can actually do MMA. So then I said to my jiu-jitsu coach at the time, 5 year, let's do MMA. And I got into MMA. Anyway, I had a meeting with the Eternal promoter, and he actually said to me, look, I've heard a lot about you. I know you haven't had an MMA fight yet, but it's going to be very hard to match you up. And I said, okay, no worries. Anyway, I was training, and I had an opponent to have my amateur debut, and then fucking a day before the fight, my opponent pulls out. I get a phone call from the promoter, oh, your opponent's pulled out a day before the fight. And I'm thinking, fuck's sake. And 2 weeks prior to that, I've gotten the news at the hospital with my grandma that she's only got fucking 3 weeks to live pretty much. They were like, you could die at any point. Like we can't give a time on it because it's already infiltrated your fucking your DNA and stuff like that. The cancer is now a part of you, etc. We can't get rid of it. So at this point, I'm like, she's going to clag it at any day now. So like, fuck, I better have my first MMA fight, which was my dream all along, to get to the UFC before she passed away. So I said, can you get me another opponent? Is there anyone? And Ben, the promoter, goes, all right, give me a call back. Give me a second. I'll give you a call back in an hour if I got anyone. So I'm waiting. Fuck, I'm meant to make my debut tomorrow. And they call me up. They go, Cody, we got your opponent. Will you fight Dan, Mini T? You fight Mini T, and Mini T is a world champion in Muay Thai, been fighting far longer than I have professionally. I actually remember I fought on Domination 6. I was the first fight of the card, fought this kid from Thailand. The second fight on the card was Dan Williams versus some guy, like full Thai rules fight. I would have been 12. I would have been year 7 at the time, 12 years old. He would have been, however, I don't know. How old's Dan now? 28,
26.
Yeah, he would have been. So he would have been about 4 or 5 years older than me. And they offered me him in my first fight. And you know what I did? I as soon as they said his name, I went, fuck, in my head. I said, I do not want to fight this guy. I said, let me get back to you. First thing I did, hung up the phone. I called my grandma. First thing I did, call my grandma. I said, Gran, my opponent's pulled out. They offered me this guy to fight. He's really good, Muay Thai world champion. What should I do? Should I take it? She goes, Cody, I know you're better than anyone. Fuck him. And I was like, I hung up the phone, called Ben back, and I'm shitting my pants right now. I call him back and I go, yeah, I'm fighting, I'm on, let's do it. And I rocked up, and I remember that day before the first, like, I had to sleep the whole day. My anxiety was so bad. My mum, every day I have a ritual when I'd fight, my mum would cook me a steak. That was like the thing, a steak, for whatever reason.
After you weigh in?
Yeah. The day of the fight was steak, always. In boxing, whatever, any tournament that I had on that fight day, just steak every day. And my dad would always be, leave it a bit bloody, the blood's good. Yeah. Anyway, so I'd eat the steak, and I couldn't even cut the steak. I remember I was so fucking scared that I was about to fight this monster on my first MMA fight, having no professional experience. Yes, I've fought amateurs, but I've never had a professional fight other than I did have one professional fight when I was like Muay Thai, when I was like that card we fought on together, because I fought a Thai kid, and in Thailand you only fight professionally, and they flew him in here for me to fight him. But anyway, so I never had a professional fight, or one if that. So I was fucking shitting myself. I couldn't even cut my steak. I'm like fucking shaking, cutting my steak. And I remember I couldn't even eat. I felt so sick. I just had to keep going back to bed. I kept waking up. As soon as I wake up, I just feel this overwhelming sense of anxiety and fear to fight this kid. But I knew in my head my grandma's fucking gonna die, and she's got to see me fight before she dies. That's what got me through. And I rock up to the venue, and I'm fucking shitting myself, and people are coming up to me in the changing rooms and going to my coach, Fabio, at the time. You know who he's fighting, Fabio? You know, and I can hear him, and I'm trying not to listen. You know who he's fighting? He's fighting world champion. Me too. Like, you sure this is a good idea? And Fabio's like, hey, it's okay. He knows jiu-jitsu, you know. We'll see what happens. And I'm fucking shitting myself. Anyway, so then we go into the fight, and in the first exchange, I end up taking him down, jumping on his back, and then choking him out within like a minute or something. And everyone goes fucking wild, because it's like, holy shit, who is this kid who's just gone and done that? Like, what the fuck? This, like, you know what I mean? And Mini T couldn't get a fight either, because he wanted to have an MMA fight. No one would fight him as well because of his Muay Thai record. No one in the whole of Australia.
Yeah. And he fights in 1FC at the moment. Professionally,
professional. And at the time as well, he was the champ in the Cage Muay Thai organization. So the Cage Muay Thai, they wear the little gloves. I'm pretty sure I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's John Wayne Parr's promotion. Yeah,
I think it was,
he fought on. Yeah. He was the champ of that at the time. So no one wanted to fight him, and credit to him as well, because he wasn't in any shape to fight, but he just took the fight because he's a cowboy, you know what I mean? So I was so scared. I took that fight and I ended up being victorious. And that's was why I took the fight, because my grandma, I didn't know how long she had left, and I legit needed to. And our plan, you know, like Khabib talks about, like father's plan. My plan was all along was one day to eventually do MMA. So I did boxing for boxing to get better hands to do MMA, jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu to one day be a good grappler in MMA. You know, Muay Thai, so they had the kicking experience and the ring experience for MMA. It was always for MMA, for the UFC to put it all together one day. And that's what I did. But yeah, so then shortly after that, I had a couple more fights, and then my grandma ended up passing away, and I didn't process it properly, and I was fucked, and that was eating me alive. And I remember even then, I probably at this point I probably hadn't even met you yet. No. And I was so fucking torn, dude. Like I didn't know how to deal with it. I remember calling up one of my cousin's grandma and just saying like, Pearl, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I felt like not living. I didn't know I couldn't live with myself, the own voice in my head. I didn't want to be here. I was fucking in a bad way. And then I never dealt with that issue. I never actually mourned the death of my grandma, and only until we actually did the work, a lot of the experience I had, a lot of the trauma that I had come up was all that pain from losing my grandma and just the childhood bullshit that I had to go through, which was fucking hard. And yeah, before I met you, if I hadn't gone through that, like God knows where I'd be. I feel like that was what was holding me back. So after I lost that Steve fight, all these things, I went, you know what? I need to sort this out, because that is the only thing that's holding me back. I have the drive. I have the hunger. I work hard. I'm very talented. I've done everything properly. I've had all the experience in all the separate disciplines. My bases are all covered, but the biggest base of them all that wasn't covered was like my inner peace. My inner peace. I was just fucking, it was in turmoil. I was a fucking wreck inside with what was going on in my mind. And until I did the work with Theo, I was able to really get to the bottom of all of that. And actually, the first time that I had an experience with mushrooms, it was funny. Theo was actually massaging me on the bed, and this was our first session. And I'd never done mushrooms before. I'd never done anything. And, I was always scared about psychedelics because I don't do too well with like marijuana. So I always thought that they were like the same thing. So the first time I had mushrooms, I remember I'm lying on the bed, and Theo's like trigger pointing me with his elbow in certain spots. And when he'd hit a certain spot, a specific trauma, it gives me goosebumps talking about it now, a specific like trauma, like a thought I'd have about my grandma would come up in my head, and I could feel myself starting to cry inside. And I'm trying to hold it in. I'm trying to act like I'm not crying. And I'm showing I'm not moving. I'm not twitching, I'm not even exhaling, I'm just holding my breath. And he just goes, bro, let it out. Like, this cunt knew. He knew what I was fucking going through. Yeah. Like, it's like we were fucking connected, bro. And I was just having this fucking epiphany at the time that, like, everything that has happened in my life has happened for a reason. And, like, I am down to the core. The only thing I could think about was just having a sword and shield, being on the battlefield, like fucking 2,000 years ago, killing people. That deep down, that's the only thing I could think about in that state, was me being a warrior to myself, and like then realizing that like, fuck, my purpose is to actually fight. That is my true purpose. And once I realized that like that was, always knew, but to have that confirmation like that did so much for me. And then it's like, I no longer needed to tell myself that I was this and have these thoughts in my head. And, I used to think, you can't have fun, if you just need to be working and training nonstop and all this shit. But if you're a warrior deep down to your core, no matter what you do, you're always going to find a way back to doing that, and Theo especially really helped me get to that point through all the plant medicine that I've done and things like that. So yeah, I just want to say thanks, man, for that, in general.
And it was really interesting in what he says, because the fear that he had coming to me was literally, if I do that work, am I going to actually lose my drive?
Yes, that was I was worried. Yeah.
And I feel like this is a big fear for a lot of people, because they have created this identity for themselves. And especially when you're going to face yourself and do this kind of work, straight away you're feeling that you're going to, this is going to die, you're going to lose it, all that identification that you have.
Of course.
That was my biggest fear, 100%.
That's why it was such a reinforcement for him to actually see to the core who he is in a soul level, beyond his ego.
So that's interesting, because that's Cody's experience was more like once he went deeper, they actually realized that's what he was supposed to do. But there would be guys out there that would be the exact same, but that's not what they're They're actually not internally, and they actually do that work and they go, "Fuck, what am I doing?" And they go the other way. Or it could be someone in business, whatever, and they go all in, and then they do the work. I mean, I found when I did the work and went to a deeper level with business actually helped me.
Yep.
And I had more drive and more clarity, whereas other people might do and go, what the fuck am I doing? And just pull back and just totally reassess because they actually get better clarity about.
Because that's the reality. If you are going through your life and you never actually reflect on what you're doing and all the stuff, and it comes from a place of pain, of, you know, what you've experienced in, you know, in childhood and all the stuff, and you're so far gone that you've never questioned it, and all of a sudden you go and you start figuring out like who you really are. Of course, it's going to be, you know, like a lot of conflict and everything, but you have to make a decision afterwards. Either you honor who you truly are, or you're staying in this, you know, egoic state basically, and just keep going, living a lie. That's the truth, you know?
That was the biggest fear, 100% of me, like, especially after, like, losing that fight, and then being like, and then it got to a point where it's like, I needed to go and do, like, it wasn't a matter of choice anymore, whether I should do the work, it was like I fucking needed to get my shit together, first and foremost. Because it's like, as well, I was at my lowest, and that was when I was at my lowest point. I just lost the fight. So I was thinking like, man, really? Is this really me? Like, is this how it ends for me? Like, am I just going to be like, is this, and then I was so scared to go. I remember even you saying to me at the time, you were saying, mate, is it a good idea to go do that? Or maybe you want to wait for doing that till after your career, which for some people, fuck, maybe wait till after their career. But for me,
because I had started my journey at that stage. So I had that same mindset as well.
You can see his warrior spirit from the beginning. Like, even
100%.
Story, like that's the thing, you know?
And when we were on that table, to touch on that, when we were on the table and you were massaging me, what started happening is I started having flashbacks of when I was a child, and even my dad's mum, my dad's mum, so my grandma, South African grandma, who is not here anymore, she passed away quite a while ago. My mum used to tell me that she used to say things like, he's special, this one, like as in me, like he's special, he's going to do something, like he's, and she was a very spiritual lady, like talks about fucking the angels, and people in my family spell, she's a bit nuts, you know, but she was very in tune with
connected.
Connected. And she used to say, he's going to do shit. And my mum, like, they reckon like they would take me to the park as a kid, and like people would be walking by and they'd stop and they'd just be like, his aura, like he's like, you know, spiritually, like he has such this gold aura around him, you know. And then like, so when you were massaging me, I'm having these like things that people have told me. And then I'm like, okay. And then I'll go to I was shit at everything until 6 years old. And then I go to the Taekwondo gym, and then the coach goes to me, fuck, like, has he done anything before? Like, what? I didn't say fuck, obviously. But I was speaking to my dad going, you know, has he done anything? He's really good. Like, how, like, has he done anything before? And they're like, nah, never. And then, like, throughout my life, there's been all these people say things to me kind of like, man, like, you're made for this. Like, you truly are special, and you are a warrior deep to your core. And then when we had this experience, I realized that my whole life and all these people saying this, it hasn't been a coincidence. It's because deep down to my core, that's who I am. And I'm always going to find a way to do it one way or another. I remember when I was a kid, like in primary school and stuff, I was always an angry kid. I was always getting into fights and stuff like that. But then when I started training, it's like, because I was outletting it all there, I was no longer like that. And I'm not an aggressive person at all. But if I can't train and fight, I do become quite an aggressive person. And I'm not aggressive towards people, but I want to fight someone or something. I need to. And it's like, after I've done that, I feel deep down, I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose. And when we did that on the table, I went home and I wrote this book, man. I never write. I wrote this whole book about my life and how everything now is starting to make sense, you know, and like why, like, even my father could realize at a young age that, like, I had something special. My grandmother could realize that, you know, I had something special, you know, and that it's not just been a coincidence, and that I'm truly born to do that.
And it's a series of events that put you on that
exactly,
on that
and that's
path,
what I mean, you know, like a series of a series of events that have, and everything has happened for a reason. And if I didn't lose, you know, like everything's happened. I'm glad that I did lose that fight, because then I know I needed to do the work, but it reinforced it to that point, you know.
Only a warrior in that state of rock bottom, especially the way you were feeling and with the loss and grief that you were experiencing and all the stuff, alongside everything else, will commit for 3 months, and especially after a loss, to do this kind of work, you know, and see also the impact that it had on you, you know, and how you're progressing now and in general.
100%.
And it's and anyone I find who's really they're on that special path in whatever field they're going in, like they have that clarity. They just know, and so and it's hard to explain to people when you just know, like, you know, I'm destined for it.
Yeah.
Like the exact path, we don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know, but like it's going to happen. And most people don't get that. Most people don't get that. They just and it's hard to explain that to someone who they just don't have that as well.
Like people ask me, like, like what, like why are you doing fighting or whatever, and I'm like, it's just my destiny. It's just what I'm meant to do. And then they kind of don't get it.
It sounds like bullshit to them.
Yeah, they're like, your destiny. What are you talking about, your destiny? You know, it's like, mate, that's who I am. Yeah. You know, like deep down to my core, that's just what I am, and I'm gonna find a way to do that. Like, no matter what. Like, and especially through like doing that work with you as well, I really got to like figure out that is me truly deep down to my core, you know.
And especially sorting out also like the stories on your mind and removing you for a bit from being that and identifying yourself with that.
Yes.
You know? You made such a big shift.
Because I was able to like, now is like when I train, it's like I don't put all that pressure on myself. It's like
you're free.
I'm free. I'm training with
the anxiety is gone. Yeah. You actually go and you enjoy yourself.
I enjoy it. Yeah, and even when I fight, I'm not like, I'm obviously very nervous, but I'm like, this is what I'm here to do. I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing it for me. It's excitement, you know. It's like, this is what I'm here to do. It makes me feel alive, you know. That's why I'm doing it, you know. Whereas like before doing the work, I would have questions like, am I doing this for other people? Because my whole life, my family has supported me in such a way that, and I had that identity as Cody the fighter. Everyone, all my friends, Cody, how's your fighting going? Like all my parents' friends, Cody, how's your fighting? My grandma would even talk to people about me. My grandson's a fighter and this and that. And everyone know me as a fighter. So I would sit there and think like, is this really for me? And then if I would not fight, I was so scared of like, fuck, who am I? Who am I if I don't fight? After doing the work with Theo, I realized, who am I? I'm a fighter deep down to my core. I'm always going to fight, but I don't have to believe that bullshit of that you are only a fighter. This is like before doing the work, I felt like I was Cody the fighter. And then after doing the work, I feel like I'm Cody the human being who fights, you know? Human being first and foremost, fighter secondary. And I feel like everyone should first and foremost be a better human being before doing anything. Yeah.
And your purpose is more clear.
More clear.
Yeah.
And the thing is that
it's not coming from a toxic place.
The thing is also like who you really are, you cannot really express it through words. Like that's a thing. You can only feel it, sense it, and understand it. And the more you explore that, the more you connect with that. But when you identify yourself with, you know, the name, okay, Cody, Theo, Ryan, you know, and the traits, you know, like the job, the things that you have identified yourself, this is where the problem is, you know.
Thinking of destiny, UFC Perth.
Oh man.
What's the thoughts? 'Cause we're in December now, so that's in.
Yeah, that's wild.
So 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So obviously the card's filling up. So that was one of the things that was probably maybe a goal, but that could still potentially happen, but could be just later on. Whatever happens, it happens. So we say, what are you just in terms of the Perth card? What are you excited about?
I mean, I'm excited.
What fights?
Like, I'm excited in general that the UFC is coming to Perth. Last time it came to Perth, I was in California, so I missed it. All my family and that, my brothers and that, they had tickets. They all went. It was awesome.
It's fucking wild.
I missed it. It was wild.
Yeah,
You went?
I went as well.
Yeah,
best UFC I've been to. Been to 5.
Yeah.
It's the best
and
one I've been to.
Was it at RIC?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unbelievable
so RIC is
arena.
small, intimate. You can see everything.
Wild fights.
Fucking
It's like 10 a.m. Everyone's on the beers.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucking, you know you're in Australia.
My brother.
Everyone's fucking sideways at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Just like
my brother
everyone.
started drinking at 6.
Yeah.
I started
6
drinking at
a.m.
6. He woke up at 5 to get ready to drink threes at 6. Sunday morning or whatever. Eh?
Yeah, because it's the American Saturday night. Yeah. So in Perth, we're on the West Coast. So the prelims start. So the first fights are at 6 in the morning. People rolling in.
That's wild.
Bars open. So people remember we rolled in, and the card, because I went to the first UFC I ever went to was in Singapore. This was because I've been into UFC since 2007.
Yep. So
since UFC 90. So I went to Singapore, and that was I was so excited, and that was like a bit of a nothing card. And I was a bit disappointed with it. And then I went to the Ronda Rousey one, which was at Etihad, which was like 60,000 people. And you thought, I'd be mad. But the atmosphere just wasn't quite there in a stadium. And so the third one I went to was the Perth one, and it was fucking mental. Like the arena was unbelievable. The fights were fucking wild. Like that's Izzy's first fight in the UFC.
Yes,
Volkanovski was on the in the UFC. Volkanovski was on the undercard. You had Tai Tuivasa's first UFC fight. Mark Hunt was on that card. It was Yoel Romero and Rockhold was on that card. Curtis Blades fought Mark Hunt. It was a fucking wild card, and there was finishes. Every fight was a finish, and like everyone was just going mental. So, that one, even though we look at it in Perth because we're so isolated, I think, the Perth card's not as good, but it was elite. Yeah, and you think this card will top that.
Oh, well, you got, what is it? Islam and Volk.
Who have you got?
Right. I love Volk, man.
Yeah.
I love Volk. And you know what? If anyone's gonna upset the world, it'd be him.
Yeah.
He's the underdog story. He loves it.
Yeah, loves it.
He's just a hard worker.
Such a tough guy. Yeah.
He's so tough. Nothing special. Just hard work.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's nothing special. His mindset. Nothing special. Anyone can do it. Just fucking put your mind to it. Work hard. And then he does that better than anyone else.
Yeah.
I reckon that if anyone's going to upset Islam, it would be him.
Yeah.
But however, Islam is a fucking monster.
Yeah.
They're fighting at lightweight. He's huge, man.
Yeah.
He's a big lightweight.
And
he has the more experience in the grappling department as well. In grappling, that weight matters so much. It doesn't matter as much in the striking, but in the grappling, it matters so much. And I'm just shocked that fucking Khabib is going to be in Perth. Wrap your head around that.
And Hasbulla.
It's going to be in Perth. Perth is so small.
Yeah.
Where are these people going to go? You're going to run, someone's going to run into one of them. They have to. At some cafe, or maybe not a cafe, but some shop. Their manager or something. Perth is so small. It's not like, they haven't got no UFC PI here or nothing. Where are these guys going to train? They're going to train at some local gym somewhere.
Yeah.
Someone's going to run into him. Can you wrap your head around that?
It'll be massive for the growth in not just Perth, but in Australia.
Oh, even Australia.
It's more kids are getting exposed to it.
I think that the rest of the country is a bit upset that they're coming.
They're salty,
They're very salty.
Yeah.
Which I think they got most of the tickets though.
Probably, right?
No one got tickets. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but I agree. I share the same sentiment. I think I love Volk's my favourite fighter. Volk and John Jones are my favourite two fighters, and but he's just so workmanlike, and he just gets better and better. His mentality.
Also, I think that he will definitely match him even in size.
Definitely. Actually, you're right, because I was thinking oh man, Volk, a bit small for lightweight, but then it's dude, the guy used to be like.
And he's strong as fuck.
Yeah. Kilos,
but then Islam is apparently his strength is just ridiculous. So it's just that what he's doing. I mean, no one's going to beat Volk at featherweight. No. So what he's doing shit that people wouldn't have the balls to do.
No.
You know what I mean? Khabib could have gone up to welterweight.
He could have.
But say that
he should have.
Yeah, and arguably he probably could have won welterweight, the world title as well. So Volk's throwing it all online in Perth as well. So it's just a matter of can he stop him and scramble and keep it on the feet for 5 rounds, which is a long time.
Either way, both of their stock goes up with that fight, wins or whatever. Both of their stock goes up because we've seen Islam, but we haven't seen Islam fight someone like Volk.
And Volk,
with that striking and that athleticism,
and just that and the mentality. He'll have to finish. He won't quit. He won't quit, and that's and he's so technical with his down. He's so fit. He'll be so quick. The quickness is. It's just if he can just keep him off him and scramble, he might get taken down and pinned. And as long as he doesn't get finished, he could.
Yeah, that's what even my coach says. 3 things that you have to be worried when fighting someone if they are extremely fit, you can't tap him and you can't knock him out. And that's fucking gold. That's gold. Yeah. And then on top of that, he's got the skills.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like someone just having that alone is a nightmare, no matter who you are. And then dealing with someone who's very skilled, very strategic on top of that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, it won't be a walk in the park.
Even Khabib, I heard him in an interview, said he reckons he'll be a way harder fight than Charles. Because Khabib goes, he recognises Volk's mentality. Yeah. And he goes, that guy won't. No. He's a proper warrior. He won't give up. Whereas he knows a lot of these other guys, he feels like they'll crumble. Yeah. But it's just the size. The size. It's the size.
That's what I'm worried.
You know, and it's just
makes me hesitant. I'm just like the size of it. It's like the difference in the size. That's the only thing I see. You know, like
what about
that could be the problem. You know.
What about Whittaker and Costa?
Oh man, Whittaker's gonna fuck him up. I don't even reckon it's close, bro. Yeah. Like Whittaker's gonna smash him. Like walk like by far. Like Whittaker's a far better fighter than Paulo Costa.
He's just like he's beaten everyone. Just is his bogeyman. Yeah, and it's just.
But even on the last fight, like it was pretty close. Yeah, still, like you know. Yeah.
But he's just got that style. That's like it's just a bad matchup. Yeah. You know, whereas if Whittaker fought Pereira, you'd probably bet him. Yeah. You know, it's just it's weird how these different matchups.
That's the thing in MMA. It's like, you can have this like the three people. It's like, you know, A beats B, but then like B loses to C, but C is like what's the A type shit. You know, it doesn't. You know what I mean?
The MMA math just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
You can't go, well, he beat him, so that, and he beat him and he lost to him. That means this guy will beat that guy. But it doesn't happen. Yeah, you get like, I think about Nate Diaz being Conor in general. Like, you know, who would have seen that come? Like, you know, like.
Do you reckon Costa passes the piss test?
He's definitely on the gear, man.
It looks good, though.
It looks good. It's just a matter of like.
He's king of the boat party later.
Yeah, he's king of the boat party. Fuck. Tell me that guy's not on the not on the sauce. Like, but it's like, you know, I think they all are. I think they all are, like, straight out. The top guys now, I think that the truth is the drugs come out first and then the science catches up. Always, right? So
speaking of which, what are your thoughts of Liver King and everything that's come out?
The fact that, you know, people are so stupid to think that this guy could be natural. Seeing him. Like, just some people are like, oh, well, maybe it is the liver he's eating. Don't get me wrong, all the stuff he's doing with the liver and that, it all makes sense, but man.
Ancestral tenets.
Like, what I'm trying to say is that I'm not surprised. Like,
he's 45.
What?
Oh, yeah, man.
45. What was his background in? What was his background? He's like proper in business and like, you know.
No, he was actually rich before that. So
of course.
So he had like multiple businesses and all that stuff. He was successful, but the problem was he wasn't known. So he created this whole strategy of how to become like known, and he created this identity, the Liver King. And he executed to the T. But the fact,
hugely intelligent guy.
But the fact that people see that and they believe. You know, that it's the liver with maple syrup and the nine ancestral tenants and all that stuff. It's just pathetic, man.
Exactly.
But that's the problem. When you have, like, even on Hollywood, like, all the actors, like, preparing for movies and you see them, they do a 12-week preparation and all of a sudden they go from a skinny dude to fucking jack, ripped, like, with veins everywhere. And it's passed, like, to all of us that, he's natural. It was the diet and the training regime. And you see guys like The Rock, John Cena, and all of those.
Yeah, of course.
And they pretend to be natural, okay? Like,
and the thing is, there's nothing wrong with what guys want to take, but it's the illusion of that's what natural, but that's what it takes.
That people believe that if they actually like try and buy their supplements a lot of times, or like you see Hemsworth, for example, like I thought he has this training app and all that stuff.
Centaur or whatever.
And he says to people like, do my
you look like Thor,
and you look like Thor, like. It's false advertisement.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you know, like it's just those things need to stop.
And the thing I think that's probably the worst part of, even like with his apology with the Liver King, just to take back, is like he takes just partial responsibility, then goes off on this tangent. I was doing it for depressed men and suicide. So okay, there was, like, of course, no financial.
Of
course. And what, like, it's like, well, if you're so much about those guys, it's like, you're promoting something that, if these guys, they take your 9 ancestral tenets and they're not going to get the result. So they've got enough issues about self-worth and then they're going to fail at another thing. So you're further enhancing their poor self-image. Yeah.
People like that are creating even more damage.
Of course. Big time.
Out there.
Big time.
Because they create more insecure people, and especially after like them finding out like obviously what he did. But the thing is, you're not doing it for the suicides. You're not doing it for men, for, supporting men or their journey. You're doing it for you.
This bleeding heart.
Yeah, you're doing it for you. Yeah. To be seen as someone important.
Of course.
Like, that's it. It's as simple as that.
How would have, because he just came across so, we all fuck up, but like he came across so disingenuous with his, it was so scripted. It was like a WWE fucking script. But like, it's almost if he just.
looks even bigger on the video. He's like, now that I've got God, I'm going to have even more gear.
No, he found the 10th ancestral tenet. He was hiding that one. He's like, no.
Tremboloni sandwich.
And it's funny that what's his name? The dude that exposed him to the doco.
More
days. Yeah. And he's gone on like he's done a doco, put time in the research.
Well done. Such an amazing video.
And gone on a fucking podcast circuit. Yeah. So you think, fuck, he's he's really exposed him.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the Liver King could have just literally, he's admitted fault, but he could have just been, if he actually went authentic into what he was doing, why he did it. I might have had this vision of helping people in this, but realised I couldn't brand or market myself a certain way naturally. Just copped it on chin, and just it was very authentic. People would go, no shit, makes sense. You took gear for an image to make a shitload of money. It makes sense. Like you might not have been the right thing, but at least you're owning up to it. Yeah. But it's just that not taking like ownership over it is what then people go, man, you're just fucking full of shit.
That's a big problem with men in general. Like, they don't take responsibility for their bullshit. Like, it's a big problem, man.
I'm big on routines and habits. What's your sort of like general, from your morning routine, a general day sort of look like, your training volume, evening routine?
Like, as in prepping for a fight?
Just in general, just your daily, yeah. So what's your morning look like?
I get up, Monday morning, wake up 6 a.m. I do start the day with a coffee because I have to drive to Cottesloe because I have some clients down there that I train. Start at 7, train them from 7 to 8, head back home. I live in Morley, takes about 35 minutes to 40 minutes depending on traffic. Go and then I rock up to the gym, LCA, have something to eat, like a smoothie, which I'll chuck in like bananas, cacao, creatine, almond milk, banana, I already said that, honey, and blend that up, and then I pretty much go. Go to training. I train jiu-jitsu at LCA, which is like no-gi, from like 9:30 to 11:15. Generally, the guys are running late, so it's more like 10 to 11:30. But
martial arts times are a real thing.
I run late too. I get there at like 10. So
it's keeping congruent with being a fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be on time.
No, you can't be on time. Nah, if you're on time, something wrong.
Yeah.
So then after that, 11:30, I train MMA. From 11:30 to about 1. We finish around 1, so it's about 3-hour training block. Go home, generally eat, nap, and then if I need to, on a Monday, I do a bit of work, like in the evening. I actually teach a class in Joondalup Monday evening. It's from 7:30 to 8:30 at night. But before that, I also do like a private lesson with someone just for like a bit of cash, and then that's generally my Monday. And then Tuesday, I go to CrossFit, which is like 9 to 10 a.m. at CrossFit Dignus, do a workout, and then I go straight back to the MMA gym from there, which we do a wrestling practice, which starts at 11. From there, like 11 to 1 once again, and then home, I go to bed, wake up, train again go back to Ramel's at 5:30, which is LCA, 5:30 to around 7, which is like no-gi practice. And all of our practices we do is like mostly no-gi, it's mostly rolling. So, and then like every day is different. Then Wednesday is pretty much similar to Monday, and then Thursday is sparring day. So I was waking up and then going to CrossFit in the morning I was going to CrossFit 9 till 10, which is like the Mamba, you're aware of Mamba mentality, they fuck you up there. It's very, obviously aware as well, they fuck you up. And then I was going to sparring after that at like 11:30 till like 1, and I was just fucking on jelly legs the whole time. So now I just sleep in, then I go to sparring, and then after that I go teach at the UFC gym from 4:30 to around 8. And then Friday's pretty much similar to like Monday and Wednesday, and then Saturday, big sparring day again.
So you go.
So obviously you shifted a bit like with your honoring your recovery time and
100%.
and your diet.
Yes.
Do you count your calories? Is everything calculated?
100%. Yeah. So I log my calories year round. And I'm eating anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 all year round. So probably 60% more than you were eating before. Yeah, bro. When we first met, double. I was eating like 1,500. I was eating fuck all and not losing weight. Like, I was addicted to caffeine. I was in a bad way. That's back when I was cutting to flyweight, and that was just a nightmare. I was fucked up. But I log my calories every day. I have been doing that for about 4 years now. 4 or 5 years, every single day I log my calories. Obviously, if you go out and eat, you don't know what's in, but you can kind of guesstimate. But I weigh up all of my food every single day.
Do you feel this is important for fighters?
100%. Yeah, more data. Everyone's like, you don't need to be doing that, but it's like data. Data is so. For instance, if I go to training and then I feel like shit, I can look back and go, all right, well, I didn't eat. This is how many grams of carbs I had before I trained, and then you can evaluate from there. You know what I mean? Of course. For me as well, I feel like there is a lot of bad. Like you can get, which I fell into that trap. You can get a bit obsessive with it, and it can have a bit of like mental OCD sort of syndrome, which I tend to fall into that bracket. But now, since doing the work with you, I'm able to go and like not track for 2 days and be fine with it, not feel bad about it. You know, I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what's in that. I don't have a meltdown. Whereas before doing the work with you, I'd have a fucking meltdown, and my missus can confirm that. And I'd be freaking the fuck out, right? So now I log my food all year round, and then pretty much what I do when I have a fight booked, I weigh myself every morning, and then I kind of see where I'm sitting at, and then I kind of make the weigh. To be honest, I sit around 66, 67 kilos year round, and then I make 61.7.
So that's what you're healthy with.
I'm healthy.
At bantamweight.
At bantamweight, which is 61.7.
So when you used to fight at flyweight, tell us about your toughest weight cut. Because flyweight's 57? 57.2. So tell us about like a good weight cutting story.
Fuck. Like,
because obviously you don't do that weight anymore. So
what I did when I used to make flyweight is on the Monday, I'd start dropping the calories. Pretty much eat 500 calories a day, just boiled chicken breast, poached chicken breast.
That week.
On
the Monday, if the weigh-in's Friday or Saturday,
Start Monday, just boiled chicken breast. Like 500 calories worth of boiled chicken breast, and I make sure I boil so all the sodium's out of it and everything. And I do that, and I just legit lie in bed. I didn't move. That's what I did to get my flyweight fights. I just lied in the bed. I did not move. I just watched TV because I couldn't stand up. I felt like I was going to have a fucking heart attack.
Did you use sauna?
I didn't even need to, bro. I went too over the top. I woke up on the day like a kilo under the weight. Like, fucked myself up.
Do you prefer when you're cutting weight using the bath or the sauna?
Last time I cut weight, I used to think I liked the sauna more. I feel like leisurely, the sauna is more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Effectiveness, to drop water weight, the bath is better.
100%, yeah. Sauna's fucked.
But I hate the bath. Like, I'm in there, I fucking hate it. But I can sit in a sauna forever.
It's quicker.
I hate the bath.
It's quicker.
Oh, the bath's so much quicker.
And you drop it more, yeah.
My last time I cut weight, I did it in a sauna.
Yeah.
And I was in there and I was not losing weight. Like, you have to remember, like, you do this whole protocol, right, before the weight cut even starts, like going keto and then water loading and sodium depleting. You're already in like a dehydrated stress state under like real low body fat, even before you start cutting weight. When you get in there, sometimes the heat has to be a bit higher to start sweating. Like in my case, which was last fight, because I'm already slightly dehydrated and fragile. And then going keto for that whole week as well, I just cannot function. It feels like fucked up.
Do you feel like it compromised your performance?
When Oh, if I went to flyweight?
When you were at flyweight.
When I was at flyweight, fuck yes. Yeah, it was bad. Like I had no energy, even like up until that day. Like just, bro, to be honest, just caffeine. Caffeine got me through it. But I couldn't, if I did it now, I'd need a dietitian. I'd need to actually do it properly. I did it, but I did it in an unhealthy way too. There probably is a safer way to do it. However, I also fucked up my hormones in the process of doing all of that.
And that's a big problem because it can affect you for months or even years after that. Like,
well, as well with tracking calories, my mindset is like anytime I'd start moving away from that 57 mark, I'd sit at like 62, 3 and I'd be like, fuck, that's 6 kilos. And I'd be like, I need to cut more calories tomorrow. Like, what happens if I get a fight in 3 weeks? How am I going to make that? And I'm already like fucking 9% body fat at that weight, you know? So it was hard. Like, so then when I went up a weight division, I went, fuck it. You know what? I'll get bigger, which having more muscle, you have a better metabolism anyway, eating more food, able to enjoy life. You know, people say to me, like friends, oh, let's go out for a meal. I'm not like, oh, no, I can't. And I used to do that. Like Christmas Day, I'd be sitting there and not eat anything. There's like my brothers and that, they bought lobsters and all this shit, like crayfish, all this food. I'd sit there and not eat anything, just drink sparkling water. That's good. Because in my mind, I'm like, if I have a fight in February, I'm not going to be able to make it. But now fighting at bantamweight, which is a more healthy weight for me, I want to have longevity. I want to be able, you know, and like I said, first and foremost, what's more important to me is one, being a better human before that. You know, I don't want to fuck myself in the process trying to make flyweight, put myself through all that pain just so that I might have an athletic advantage. For me, I don't reckon I did have an athletic advantage. I reckon if anything I was at a disadvantage. Now that I fight at bantamweight, I'm much better and I feel much better. I can enjoy my life when I don't have a fight. And then when I have a fight, like when I'm cutting weight for bantamweight, as in I've got a fight booked in, so let's say I got a fight booked in 6 weeks, I'm still eating 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day, losing weight. That's me losing weight. And that's how much because I'm training like 4 hours a day.
Must be
it's like so 5,000 calories or something. Dude, like when I had the whoop, when I was wearing the whoop, it's like 4,500 calories a day on some days, you know? And man, like just, I burned so much. And it's like I was underestimating for so long, which it actually destroyed my hormones. I remember I couldn't get an erection when I started like training to fight MMA, and I was training so much and not eating enough. I didn't have an erection for like, I couldn't even get an erection no matter what. For like 3 years, I didn't have sex with anyone, anything. Didn't have no sexual activity, nothing for 3 whole years. My drive was gone. I got my test levels checked. They wanted to put me on fucking hormone replacement therapy because that's how bad my fucking test levels were. Obviously, with that being illegal, I can't be doing that. You know what I mean? But in general, I was fucked, completely fucked. Now that I'm sitting at, it was actually funny because when I started eating more calories, I could feel my fucking sex drive coming back, and I actually went out to but it was indirectly, started seeking sex, like indirectly, not like going out like thirsty as like on the dance floor, like, yeah, who wants some, you know? But like just, you know, like actually like I would drive past, I'd notice a girl walking past something, I'd be like, oh, she's attractive, or yeah, whereas before I'm just like looking straight ahead, not noticing anyone. Noticing anyone. Someone there could be a 10 sitting there naked playing with themselves. I'd just be sitting there, I'd be like, I'm not interested. You know, like I just
now it's good to go.
Yeah, now I'm good to go. I'm recovered. My missus probably wants me to recover a little more.
So do you so before a fight, do you have any practices with not beating the meat or no sex or anything like that? So or do you have a period of time or window that you do it?
I try to not the week before my fight. I try to
lose some retention for a week.
I try. I try to a week or like 2 weeks. You know what? But not intentionally, like kind of intentionally, but also not intentionally because when you're training that hard for a fight, you don't have any fucking energy to be doing that.
You're not a performer.
No. You got no energy to be doing that. You don't have any energy left to do that. You're like, fuck, that was the last thing I'm thinking about. I want to go to sleep, you know? I haven't had any desire because you're so depleted, man, training for a fight, you know? Even eating the calories, still not enough. Like your nervous system, your adrenals are so taxed, you know? You just need to sleep. So not intentionally, So kind of intentional, like I'm aware, like for instance, the night before the fight, I don't think you should be having like you should be ejaculating. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
no.
The night before a fight, I don't think so. I don't think it's a good idea.
Just release a bit of anxiety.
Yeah. Think about it, like, you know, like back in the day, like you'd need this big surge in testosterone to go out and like kill an animal or whatever and bring that back to your family, you know. If you're like dumping your test just before you go hunt the animal, they'll start running off and you'll probably be like, fuck, it's running too fast, fuck that. You know?
Put a vape in you.
Suck on a vape, that'll sort you out. Try not to do it about 2 weeks before a fight. But
try not to cut the cord too early for.
Yeah.
What about, it's funny, like with weight cutting, because a lot of people don't understand this from different sports have got different weight cutting. Yes, like you have, obviously when I do jiu-jitsu, I don't do MMA. So like with jiu-jitsu, you weigh in and it's like straight up, like you weigh in, boom, you're on the mat.
Yeah.
There's no like 24 hours before. So you got to, obviously the prep for a weight cut is very different in like jiu-jitsu or sports. Like jiu-jitsu compared to like boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, which is 24 hours before, which you can just fucking kill yourself and then you can re-energize. So you got to be much more strategic. I remember like one when because I try not to, in jiu-jitsu, I haven't competed much lately, but I try not to cut weight in that. So I just go at my normal, roughly about my normal weight. So I've put on a bit of weight. But it was always like 86 or 91, I'd compete at. And I remember I just got my, it was 2018, I just got my purple belt. And we literally got my purple belt, and the week after there was this team comp. So they had like, you had this 5 belts in jiu-jitsu. There's white, blue, purple, brown, black. So it probably takes about 10 years to get your black belt. So that's why it's hard to even progress up, 1 belt. And I remember I just got my purple, and then they go, it was on the Saturday. I knew this comp was on next Sunday. I thought, fucking beautiful. Got the belt, they're not going to put me in the comp. And then on the Tuesday, 3 days after, they go, no, we need you to be our purple belt. I'm like, fucking just got it. I'm like, you want me? They go, we need our best purple belt. I go, because I was 87 kilos. In this comp, you had a heavy team and a light team. The heavy team was above 80. The light was below 80. I said, I haven't. I don't think I was ready for a comp. I go for the heavy team. They're like, no, we need you for the light team. And it was on a Tuesday. So I think it was on a Saturday or Sunday, I had to be at 79. So I had to lose 8 kilos in four days. And that was running a business full time.
I'm pretty sure you treated me.
I did. You got the worst adjustment of your life. I couldn't get out of it. I probably called you a different fucking name. I didn't recognise who you were.
I remember asking, what are you eating? You're like, just a handful of nuts. That was it.
It was fucked. Because I was working full time doing chiro, which is very seeing a lot of people. And I remember every day I was just thinking, fucking these Brazilians stitched me up. They fucked me. Every hour, I thought they fucked me. But you can do it. Like it's fucked, but you can do it. And you learn mental toughness. And you it's only on 4 or 5 days time. Just I just had like one little meal a day, and that's all you could do, and just run, work. It was fucking miserable, but ended up getting there. I did every trick to get under, and I didn't use a sauna, I didn't use a bath, nothing of that. But I had to borrow a guy's gi that was like 800 grams
lighter
instead of like a 1.5 kilo.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like it's not even a kilo the gi. So I just got under, and I had to weigh in straight away. So just do every trick you can. And went in. There's a few different divisions. Won my division, and then soon as I weighed in, I had 6 liters of Gatorade. Fucking moron. But anyway, I had 6 liters, 3 2-liter bottles. Had a pizza. Had all these lollies, and literally I won my division, and had to go do another division. 2 hours later, I was up to 85 kilos. I was 6 kilos heavier in 2 hours.
That is wild. Yeah. I don't even feel that much.
Yeah.
The next day.
Yeah, it wasn't the most intense.
4 hours and I'm dehydrated.
Yeah. So it's amazing how and that wasn't good practice as well. No. Yeah. And my performance was I still did all right, but then I just got hit by the fucking bus.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't fall asleep before they put you.
I did. I was in, yeah.
You got choked out early.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. So still, I won that one. Yeah. And so it was a successful.
You won both.
Yeah. And then we did a team one and won that. So in the end, it's funny. You go through saying that, which is fucked for those 5 days, and then you forget you forget how painful it is. You just remember winning.
The
glory,
the
pizza, the Gatorade.
Yeah, you forget about all the pain.
But
every time I've fought a flow, I've just been like, knocked that guy out. Yeah, submitted that guy. That was a sick fight. Yeah. I never think about that fucking pain I was in, lying in the bed, not even able to stand up. You don't think about it.
No.
And until you're back in it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, nah, never again.
Yeah. And I remember you'd have people go, you lost 8 kilos in 4 or 5 days. How'd you, I'd have clients and some female clients go, how'd you do it? I want to do it. You don't want to go there. It's a fucking dark place, I tell you. You don't want to go there. And you're not gonna keep it off as well.
No.
That was terrible for me.
You're actually gonna rebound work.
Yeah, and I remember saying 100%, and I did. I rebounded in 2 hours. Like 6 kilos.
You actually got microbiome also.
I was fucked. I was fucked.
Man, I've had my fair share of starving, and honestly, I seem to believe that is fucked up my whole ghrelin, my hunger and stuff. Like I just I don't get full. Like I can just keep going, and even if I'm full, I'm just like keep going.
There's so many different effects that you have, like leptin, ghrelin, so many different hormones. Like
and I just think keep going because I'm like, and people are like, why do you? And then people see me eating, they're like, fucking hell, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because I know what it feels like to be hungry. And I tell you right now, it's heaps more pleasurable being full. Even if you're uncomfortable full, I'll tell you, it feels better than being starving. I've been fucking starving, I tell you that. It's heaps better to be bloated and, I can't even stand up. I love that feeling. I'm like, I can't move. Great. Like,
what's Netflix?
Yeah.
Suppression, let's go. Yeah. How do you celebrate a win?
Eating. Every time. A lot of fighters want to go out and get pissed and stuff, but I'm not a big drinker, man. Being an athlete.
And coming from your family background.
Coming from my family background
pretty interesting as well,
my dad loves a bit of alcohol, drinks a bit of alcohol. So, and I always seem the worst it brings out in people in general. With a bit of growing up with a bit of violence and stuff like that. So, and not only that, my dad, it's funny because he was always drinking, but then he'd always be like, you better not fucking drink. And I was kind of like, yeah, well, monkey see, monkey do, right? But and I never did. I always listened
Floyd
to him.
Didn't drink?
He was like,
so you're not fucking drinking.
Yeah, Floyd never drank. So I don't, but in general, for me, when I have alcohol, it's actually a blessing in disguise because when I have it, immediately I feel a little bit excited, but then it comes crashing down. I feel depressed. I want to go sit in the corner on my own. So I don't celebrate with alcohol. And as well, not only that, there was one boxer, Bernard Hopkins. He won a world title when he got out of prison at 40 years old or something, or even 50 it could have been. I'm not sure. But anyway, he would talk about he never drank alcohol, and he was like, that's the difference. And he was called I think he was called the Immortal. I could actually be wrong. I could have even got the names wrong. But anyway, this boxer, he never used to drink. He never used to drink alcohol because he had this theory, which later on scientists have proven that after taking trauma to the brain, the last thing you want to do is add alcohol.
Of course, yeah.
So because the inflammation.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So you never want to mix that. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise that I don't like drinking anyway. And not saying that I have had fights and then I've gone out to clubs and stuff and partied, but that was only on 1 or 2 occasions. But I don't do that. No, after a fight, I generally want to go somewhere like a burger place, or if not a burger place, just Mexican food or something like that, where I just eat and then just
celebrate.
Celebrate with the people close to me. Stuff like that. Yeah.
In terms of being successful as a professional MMA fighter, being based in Perth, do you feel like being based in Perth? We've seen the conversation used to be in Australia. Could you be successful?
Yeah.
Which we know now it's yes. Yeah, because there's multiple guys now. Do you feel like being in Perth, you can get to that level as well, or do you feel like we're a bit limited here, or you might have to go somewhere else, or what are your thoughts on that?
I feel like it wouldn't hurt going to other places, but that doesn't mean that Perth isn't talented enough to get you there. As we've seen guys like Jack Della, all these guys coming up, Stephen Erceg, all these guys, although they have travelled and trained. I know, like Steve, he's traveled and trained at some very high level MMA gyms, around California and stuff. And I think that's great. Like, go there, learn some stuff, come back. I don't think you have to move your whole life there, but I think that you can definitely go and do training camps and learn and come back. But I feel like also it's not necessarily the training as in the coaching you get there. Yes, that might be better in some cases because you've got like guys like Khabib, ex-fighters, there's not too many ex-fighters in Perth who have been high
at that level,
at that level, right? So there's obviously more, but I think it comes down to population. It's not because of anything else other than population, and in the US, MMA is so much bigger than it is in Australia, like they only let the cage back 4 or 5 years ago, in Perth. So, and whereas like they've been doing this in Brazil, Vale Tudos forever, so of course, and not only that, it's a bigger population too. So of course you're going to have chances of having more killers come out of that, if you've got
more fights,
and not only that, the training partners, I feel like it's the training partners that matter the most, and having guys your size that are high level that can push you, that's where traveling can benefit,
So like just that level of challenge.
The level, like in my gym, I might have like, 1 or 2 guys who are like, quite decent, who I can train with my size. But if I went, somewhere like Russia or Brazil or, any, like or America or even Thailand, man, there's some big gyms in Thailand, MMA gyms now. If you go there, you might have like 20 guys your weight and then you get like honest training because, the thing is like training with people bigger, they're like, oh yeah, but he's bigger than you. That's why he can hold you down, etc. When you train with someone your own size, there's no excuse. No. It's like if he's just holding you down, he's like, he's just better than you. Yeah. He's your size, he's your weight, he can hold you down, he's better. And that to you makes you get better. So I think the training, it's a matter of I think like we have some, like my coach Ramel, fantastic coach, and he's been trained under the great Brian Ebersol, who is former UFC fighter, was living in Perth. I actually got to train with him as well when I was a kid. So yeah, he's had a lot of experience and he knows his stuff, like he knows his MMA, man, and like a lot, but it's a matter of, I think like in other parts of the world, it's because they have like 20 guys who are all their same size. That's why they get to push each other a bit more. Yeah. That's the benefit you have. But I don't think it's a necessity. I think that once you get to the UFC, getting your foot in the door, then obviously you can bring people in. You can, you're getting now, it's like your full-time job. So you're getting paid enough, hopefully, that you've got sponsors that can help you out with bringing people in and stuff like that. You bring certain people in from certain parts of the world, your size, to train with. You can do that anywhere. Like right now there'll be someone training in a garage somewhere becoming a fucking animal just with like 2 people. Yeah, of course. So like, talent's not like selective. Talent can be anywhere. It's just a matter of having more people to train with. So I think that you can definitely make it big out of Perth, but if you go and travel, like you can, but then as well you can also leave. It just depends on your circumstances. I feel like it's good for everyone to go travel and train somewhere for like 4-week to 8-week camp, come back, and then be able to put that together amongst your gym, and then that can't hurt anyone. That's great as well. But is it a necessity? I don't think so. Not anymore. Not with how popular the sport's coming. I mean, if the sport wasn't that popular, the UFC wouldn't be coming to Perth.
And you look at like Rob Whittaker. Oh, yeah. Rob Whittaker's in like rural New South Wales.
Yeah, there's
just a gym out there. I mean, and he's just, there's definitely a certain level of guys that you have to have.
Oh, of course.
Can't have a bunch of bums and just be an amazing mindset. You got to have that certain level. Yeah. But I mean, having like world champion.
The stimuli, like that challenge, man. Otherwise you won't grow.
Big time.
Because if you're in the gym and you're the top guy in the gym, not getting your ass handed to you, it's so much easier, I feel, to catch up than it is to stay ahead. But if you got guys in the gym who are giving it to you, then you can catch up to their level so much quicker. You feed off each other. You never want to be the best guy in the gym. No. And if you are, it's a problem.
Exactly right.
So I feel like, you definitely need to do, like, for instance, now, me and Steve, we actually spar with each other. When I have a fight coming up, I try to contact Steve and get some sparring rounds in with him because he pushes me to that level and we can push each other. And every time we spar, it's like we had our fight again, only for 5 rounds instead of 3. People were watching it in awe, you know, and afterwards I'm completely fucked, you know, I've emptied the clip, and so is he. And we get to push each other. So I'm glad, like, also, I feel like Perth needs to open up a little bit, as in, like, we need to start looking at each other as teammates, not enemies within gyms. Because we are so small, we need to work together to get each other there.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a lot of these gyms are in the mindset of, our gym's the best or your gym's the best. It's like, no, let's just all get together and all train with each other. It's hard, though, when you're fighting each other. But once you've all fought each other,
the ones looking to go to the next level.
They need to start training with each other. So you got the best of the best in your region training with each other. And I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, and I think even
you need to come together.
Definitely. And the beauty with MMA is like you might be the best this well-rounded MMA fighter, but even in a place like us, we've still got very good boxers here. So you can do boxing training with a guy who just kicks your ass in straight boxing. And then Muay Thai, we've got world champions here. Jiu-Jitsu, we've got a world champion here. Like, you know, like wrestling, we don't, like that's obviously improving. It's improving, but it's not at that level. So you can always get each discipline, guys that can beat you in that discipline. So you still always can get nuanced, get better, more conditioning, you know, better mindset and that sort of stuff. So obviously it's easier having those other resources, but you still can do it. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I go to get, like, right now, if I wanted to, I could go to a boxing gym and I could spar with certain individuals my weight and I get my ass handed to me. If I wanted to right now, like, just down the road. Like, I know heaps of gyms, heaps of kids who are about 17 who will kick my ass in boxing right now. So
just straight boxing,
you know. Obviously MMA is a different story, you know, but straight boxing, I could get that in, you know, like, it's Perth's, we're doing well considering in the combat sports thing. We're doing well. There's a lot of talent coming up.
If you're a parent and you had a kid, what do you reckon is the best martial art to get your kid into? If you're going to pick one, because it used to be karate, taekwondo.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a different, if I don't have kids, but when I do, where they would go, where would you sort of send them? If they're going to do, I was the same. What about as an adult? If an adult's going to do one thing.
If they got to do one, well, I feel like jiu-jitsu is more like friendly for everyone. I feel like jiu-jitsu, out of all of the martial arts, it's like jiu-jitsu is something that kind of everyone could get into.
Of course.
It's the most, I don't even know the word.
It's a barrier of entry is the easiest.
Yeah.
You're not getting
punched in the face.
You have to be athletic.
No.
There's belt systems. There's different.
Systems.
Yeah, you can be older.
Yeah.
There is boxing. You come to boxing older.
No, you can't.
And you're unathletic.
You're 60-year-old wanting to start boxing.
Or like strike, or like, anything striking based. You do Muay Thai and you come in deconditioned at 45. You're going to get your legs lit on fire and you're going to get knocked out. So, and you can dial back the intensity of the striking, but jiu-jitsu you can, and the good thing with jiu-jitsu is you can go hard and you're still fine. Striking, if you go hard, you go against the wrong guy, you're done. You're done.
And issues and problems.
What about in a street fight? What do you reckon's the best?
You know what? I think, to be honest, for one, in a street fight, you need to know how to strike. Yeah. It's not just going to be a grapple fest. You need to know how to hit someone, first and foremost. And the thing is that people don't realize.
One-on-one street fight.
Yeah, one-on-one
fight straight.
Yeah. One-on-one. You need to know how to strike. But also, jiu-jitsu will save your life in a street fight. But it will save your life if you know how to strike as well. Because the thing is, in jiu-jitsu, think of it like this. In jiu-jitsu, you are both willingly accepting to fight each other on the ground. In a street fight, if someone doesn't want to go to the ground, they're trying to stand up. Therefore, it changes the dynamic of your jiu-jitsu. You can't get your jiu-jitsu off if someone's trying to get up to their feet. You have to hold them in a different way, which that comes more down to wrestling and how well you are at pinning someone. In a street fight, it's if you do go to the ground, it's about pinning them. So, if you're some great guard player, for instance, you're some jiu-jitsu wizard who's some great guard player, and in a street fight, you start striking, you say someone cracks you.
Butt scooting.
You get dropped. What are you going to do? Butt scoot, close guard on the guy? He's going to drop elbows on your face. He's punching you right now, So I think in a street fight, man, to be honest, if you've got hands, but I think if you've got hands, you need to be able to strike. You need to be able to, every fight starts on the feet. Every fight. So you need hands, but then also you need to have some form of grappling in the sense of knowing how to pin someone down, which could be in a form of jiu-jitsu, depending on your style, which could be in a form of wrestling. But I would go towards it. You need to know how to strike and you need to know how to hold someone down, whether that's through jiu-jitsu, whether that's through wrestling. That's what, you need to be doing, I reckon.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In the jiu-jitsu belt system, how much merit, if this is just in straight grappling, do you give if someone's, for example, they go, I'm a brown belt and someone else is a blue, how much merit do you give to the belts?
As in a jiu-jitsu class environment?
Just in general, like, someone, not necessarily going like someone's a certain high level, international level brown versus blue, like, just for the general layman's, how they hear, this guy's a brown belt and you're a blue belt, so he must be able to beat the shit out of you and dominate you. What are your thoughts on the?
I feel like it's been watered down over the years, man. Like, to be honest, there's a lot of brown belts out there. There's a lot of black belts out there who.
Be careful.
Watch
your fucking mouth, son.
Well, the thing is, right?
You better not put my name in there.
Well, the thing is, is I'm a small brown belt. So I know if I roll with any guy who's 100 kilos, no matter what fucking belt, white belt, not even a belt, day one, they give me a hard time. They're 100 kilos. I'm only 66 kilos. Yeah, I'll rinse them over some time limit, but it's going to give me a hard time. I'm only so fucking big, So, the belts thing, I feel like back in the day, if you were a brown belt, especially in like Perth, because jiu-jitsu took a long time to actually come and take off over here. It was a big deal. But now, man, it just seems like everyone's a fucking brown belt. Everyone's a purple belt. And I see the level that they're at. And I'm like, man, like, you're terrible.
I think you really had to, the accessibility and techniques obviously better now, but I think the difficulty of progression is easier.
Yeah, easier.
And I think
that's becoming more watered down.
Yeah. And I think that's part of, obviously,
as it gets bigger.
And the commercialization of it. Yeah. And you need to have something in place that rewards people. If something's, if it is just too hard, like what it was back in the day, people quit.
Yeah.
People quit. And people need that, that positive reaffirmation and if they're training, twice a week, they probably shouldn't ever progress. In the old way, it used to be people who did jiu-jitsu, they're all like kung fu guys or tough martial art guys because there was no real MMA and that sort of stuff. So they're all like hard, tough guys, and then they went into that and it was so hard to probably even get your first belt, let alone go up to a purple belt or something like that. And I mean, the techniques were very, very basic then, but the level of difficulty, like you had to earn. You had to earn, and you're right. I feel like it is getting, even though you still get super talented guys, and the guys that do go all in and they're training daily, and that their level is much better than the old guys. The old guys were tough, but in general, I think there's a much more watered down.
Yeah, for sure. Because, jiu-jitsu, exactly. Like, it's. I feel like if you train every day, this is my take on jiu-jitsu, right? On how, if I had a gym, how I would grade people. You can train every day for like 10 years straight. If you're still a bum, you're still a bum. I'm not grading you. You suck. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of the time you've put in. But the thing is, jiu-jitsu, if you have a good coach, jiu-jitsu should be such a pure martial art that if you are there every day, it's kind of one of those martial arts that you cannot get better. You will just get better if you have the right coaching.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I think about even your coach, Will. Like, if you train with Will every day for like 2 years, you cannot not get better.
Of course.
Because he's such a great coach.
Yeah, of course.
And he will keep drilling you until you're at that.
Of course. Yeah.
But I think now what happens is, because the belts are giving out too easily, it's like the coach is kind of like, it doesn't really matter. He's put the time in, I'll give him the belt. But I'm like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I like beauty about striking sports is there's no belt system. And you rock up in the gym and it's just like, all right, you're either good or you're shit.
Yeah.
What are you? You
might be an amateur or pro. That's it.
But even then,
there's, of course.
It's like people think amateur boxing is like, oh, you're only an amateur boxer. It's like, no, sorry. We have amateur is technically Olympic boxing, and then we have professional boxing. What's the difference? Well, the difference is Olympic boxing, they fight over 3 minutes and they fight at a much higher pace, 3-minute rounds at a much higher pace, like a fucking high pace. Whereas professionals will coast a bit more and they'll fight 12 3-minute rounds. That's the difference.
And most of the guys in boxing that are the elite world champions have had pretty long amateur careers. They haven't got put into pushed into pros too quickly. And they've all got. I mean, Lomachenko had 400 and something fights. Even like Anthony Joshua, he's like gold medalist as an amateur. I mean, even Deontay Wilder was a bronze medalist as an amateur. I mean, you got so many of these guys had just because they learned that foundation so well. As soon as they flip over to pros, they start just smoking guys. As opposed to guys
even in my gym growing up, like back in the day, used to talk about pro boxing and stuff, and like all the coaches watch pro boxing, as in like in America, the top name guys. But whenever we'd speak about pro boxing or going pro one day, they're like, "Why the fuck would you do that for? To beat some bums? Why would you do that? What would you do that for? Who are you going to fight? Like, where are you going to go with it?" At least the amateurs, you go to the Olympic Games, which I think they've changed the rules now. But even with them changing the rules, the pros never make it to the Olympic Games. The amateurs are on another level. And once again, it shouldn't even be amateur pro. It should be Olympic boxing and professional boxing because that's truly what it is. They both are professional sport, really. It's just one's called amateur boxing and one's called professional boxing. But I reckon, man, like the top amateurs in the country, when they go pro, they dominate. They fast track.
Oh yeah, big time.
Because they've fought all and not only that, in the amateur boxing you can't pick and choose fights. You all nominate, you all weigh in. It's like, all right, this guy is your weight. You're fighting him on the tonight.
Day.
You're fighting him tonight.
Preparation.
There's no prep. It's like, all right, you rock up to the comp. They do the draw of the hat. All right, this is the division. You're fighting him, and him, and you're forced to get better and you're forced to fight. You can't dodge each other. Pro boxing, you got 8 weeks, and there's nothing against pro boxing. I'm not digging. I'm just saying the differences, and why I think that the amateurs are harder because you don't get to choose who you're going to fight. You don't have negotiations. It's just you rock up and you fight.
Yeah. In terms of what we're doing here with the Blokes Lab, it's really about trying to as well provide a more positive form in terms of masculinity and integrating different things like physical, mental, spiritual, financial and social health to sort of help men become more empowered in that respect. So in terms of when you hear the word masculinity, what does it sort of what's your sort of definition of it? Or how does it sort of resonate? What do you sort of think about?
I think that first and foremost, masculinity goes way back. Like when I think of the word masculinity, I think going way back to the warrior, the hunter-gatherer. This is what men have done for thousands of years, and it might offend some people, but that's what they've done. And that's what you think about, like thousands of years of conditioning like that. Now that we live in a civilized environment, too civilized, way too civilized, right? Like all of those survival instincts and warrior instincts that we have aren't just going to disappear. It's like animals now, it's like we don't go out and kill our own animals anymore. So a lot of that stuff's done behind closed doors. So we might be walking around feeling a sense of anxiety, but that's probably because back in the day when you're walking through the jungle, you got to be on edge because there's a fucking tiger about to eat you, So for me, masculinity just means, just takes me back to thinking about like how would a hunter-gatherer go out and hunt and gather the food and provide for their family, but also like masculine for the tribe. And also masculinity obviously has like a lot of levels to it as well. It's not just about that, but it's about being a good father, being a good listener, being a good leader also. And just providing and showing like your children like the correct way to do things and stuff like that and
so being a guide.
Yeah, being a guide for them. Yeah.
What's one thing you think men can do to improve their lives? Just to finish off.
I think in general, everyone needs to do something. All the men need to men need to do things that are hard. Like I feel like we are stimulated in different ways than women are, right? We need hard things keep us alive, keep us feeling invigorating. And I feel like when a man stops pushing themselves in some form of way, and that's not only through training, but just in general, stops pushing themselves, that's when they feel empty, and that's when they start having depression and, all these other issues coming along. I think as a man, it's very important to have a sense of purpose and guidance and direction and know where you want to go and things that you want to do. And, just keeping your ego in check, keeping yourself accountable, having people around you that are going to tell you the things maybe that you don't want to hear, things like that. Just, making sure that you surround yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable. I feel like there's too many men these days that are too soft. They're all too soft. They're not. You think about what a hunter-gatherer would look like back in the day. How many men look like that these days? You know what I mean? So on a physical level, they need to be pushing themselves, but also on a mental level too and a spiritual level. They need to have all of them things in check. So, in general, just trying to be a good leader for other men and, just being a good role model in general.
And do things that challenge you.
Things that challenge you day to day. You need to do some form of challenge because men at their core have always done challenging things. You think going out back in the day would have been to walk in the park, go on and fucking chase an animal down and kill it. So, you need to have these type things in your life that keep you challenged, whether like challenged physically, challenged mentally, challenged spiritually, so that all those things are in check. But pretty much, keep yourself honest. If there's anything you want to add to that.
We can add a lot. It's we wanted to hear your take on it.
So thank you for going deep in a few different areas, Cody, as well. So I think in closing off, appreciate your time coming on today and some insight, and with someone who can really. It's good to have a young guy who's in your career who's actually started going that journey and not waited till he was much older to start and going through a lot more pain to go through that journey. So thank you for sharing that.
That's fine.
There's not many athletes that have done what he has done at his age and consciously deciding to do that.
And Dana White, make one spot free. UFC Perth.
If there's a pull-out, I'm on.
Light, heavyweight, who gives a fuck? He's on. He's ready. He's ready. Give me the call. I'm 10 minutes away.
I'll rock up on the day.
Beautiful. Awesome. Right. Cool. Thank you, man. And good luck for the rest of your career.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.